Chapter 358. Kui Jun blurted out the harsh words in a moment of panic. But when he heard Papa Ji's voice, he immediately backed down. However, he was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. How could he care less? I don't have time to comfort Ji Shanshan right now. We'll talk about it later. He and his cousin were facing the risk of losing. How could he be in the mood to mess around with Ji Shanshan? His cousin had always been a proud daughter of heaven. She had always been outstanding and had never suffered such a blow. He could tell just by looking at her now. She was crying so miserably that it made his heart ache. Ji Shanshan, on the other hand, didn't comfort her. Instead, she hit her when she was down. This was his cousin. She should at least give him some face. We'll talk about it later. Kui Zhanxian, look at your son. Papa Ji raged. Seeing her father like this, Ji Shanshan couldn't be so heartless. She hurried over and tugged at his clothes. Dad, don't be angry. Kui Jun's father, Kui Zhanxian, didn't look too good either. He didn't expect to lose 2 matches in a row. He had complaints in his heart, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. He was also dissatisfied with Kui Jun's attitude towards Sun Yang. After all, Sun Yang had no right to cry. But when he remembered that there were still 3 matches left, he dismissed the thought of reprimanding his son. Letting Sun Yang calm down was a wise choice. One ginseng didn't seem important. In fact, their family didn't lack ginseng. But the one in Jing Yunzhao's hand was different. Not to mention its high medicinal value, it would fetch a high price if sold. Therefore, even though Papa Ji yelled at him, Kui Zhanxian still went his own way. It's just a child throwing a tantrum. It's not serious. Besides, Shanshan was in the wrong this time. Yang Er still has a match later. What if her mood is affected and she loses again? Papa Ji choked on his words. He looked at the father and son and secretly gritted his teeth. He loved his daughter. No matter what, he wouldn't let her suffer with this kind of person. Before, he thought it was fine as long as his daughter liked him. But now, it seemed that if she was already like this at such a young age, it would only get worse when she grew up. Papa Ji immediately grabbed his daughter's hand. His expression was so serious that it was a little scary. It was the first time Ji Shanshan saw her father like this. She couldn't help but feel guilty and didn't dare continue helping Kui Jun. Although she liked Kui Jun, her parents and brothers were her family. Kui Jun couldn't be compared to them. The scene became quiet again. Both sides rested for a while, preparing to enter the next round. Biaojie, you have to believe in yourself. The things we competed with before were all the basics. Jing Yunzhao was just a little lucky. Maybe she just happened to have learned those things before. Don't take it to heart, just do your best. No matter what the result is, I won't blame you, Kui Jun said considerately. Towards the white moonlight in his heart, there would always be endless gentle whispers. Sun Yang replied with a pale smile, but in his heart, he snorted disdainfully. These words sounded nice. If she really lost, even if Kui Jun didn't blame her, her uncle would definitely blame her. After all, Kui Jun was the only son in the Kui family. If he couldn't inherit the family business, then the Kui family would be in trouble. Moreover, she wanted the ginseng, but so did her uncle. If she missed such a good opportunity, she would definitely be kicked out of the Kui family. Moreover, Kui Jun was not very interested in this, and his ability was also ordinary. Putting aside the Kui family, Kui Jun naturally felt that it did not matter if he won or not, but how could she be the same? It was easy for him to say that. Chapter 359. Sun Yang complained in her heart, but she couldn't and didn't dare to say it. She drank a few mouthfuls of water to relax and began to prepare for the next competition. She couldn't lose any of the last 3 pharmaceutical competitions. Once she lost, she would be completely finished. Jing Yunzhao had a good memory and knew how to recognize herbs, but he didn't necessarily know how to make medicine. Although she wasn't as proficient as those masters, she was the best among her peers. She could definitely win. Sun Yang looked a little weak. Jing Yunzhao was calm, but the atmosphere was particularly tense. Many people hoped that he and Sun Yang could suddenly make a comeback and turn defeat into victory. In front of them were complicated tools. The two of them stood on the stage. Soon, someone brought a long-covered tray. It was one of the herbs to be processed today. When the red cloth was removed, something that made people's scalps tingle was immediately revealed. Jing Yunjiao and Sun Yang were both women. Generally, women's weakness when it came to making medicine was their mentality. For example, the medicine in front of them was a chi snake, also known as a five-step snake or a white flower snake. It looked extremely disgusting and was even poisonous. However, the internal organs of the five-step snake had been removed. It was a dry body. There was no need to worry that it would suddenly rush up and bite them. Even if it was a dead snake, it still made people's scalps tingle. After all, Jing Yunjiao was still young. Even in her previous life, she had only lived for more than 20 years. Although her mental strength was strong, it was impossible for her not to be afraid in the face of such a thing. However, that was before she met Shu Lao. During those days when she stayed in Shu Lao's courtyard, she had seen a lot of snakes. Most of them were even alive. She was responsible for slaughtering them. No matter how great her fear was, it was overcome by her. Therefore, she was only stunned for a moment. She reached out and took the dried snake in her hand. Next to her, Sun Yang's hand trembled. She had learned how to make medicine, but most of it was for plants. Of course, she had seen others process snakes, but this kind of thing was disgusting. She had never done it personally. Seeing that Jing Yunjiao had already started, how could she fall behind? She braced herself and picked up the snake. There were about 2 catties of five-step snakes placed here. He watched as Jing Yunjiao brushed the surface of these five-step snakes and cleaned up the dust that was left behind from the drying. Only then did she use a knife to cut off the snake's head as well as the 2 to 3 inches of its tail. Everyone could see that her technique was a little inexperienced, but the steps were correct. He then placed the snake's body into a jar and poured in about a catty of white wine to soak it. After a long time, he took it out and peeled off the snake's scales and backbones. After handling it, he washed it and prepared to dry it. It wasn't complicated, but the details were important. The snake's head, tail, and back are poisonous and should not be used as medicine. Rather than saying that this question was about making medicine, it was better to say that it was about courage. The person who came up with this question probably thought that both of them were girls, so he specifically chose the five-step snake. Jing Yunjiao's movements were as smooth as flowing water. While she was waiting to be dried, Sun Yang was still shakily removing the snake's scales. His hand that was holding the knife was trembling slightly, and the people below all felt a wave of worry. It was obvious who was better and who was worse. It didn't take long for the first round to end in a draw. Even though Jing Yunjiao's medicine was good, it was a pity that Sun Yang had won the hearts of the people. Many people had to give the Kui family some face, so after Sun Yang finished, the competition ended in a draw. Jing Yunjiao didn't want to say anything more. After all, Sun Yang's work wasn't bad. Sun Yang breathed a sigh of relief. After it was over, her face was still pale. But before Sun Yang could completely relax, another round of processing began. She opened the jar and saw that the densely packed centipedes were still alive. When? Chapter 360. In an instant, Sun Yang was so scared that she took a few steps back and fell to the ground. Her whole body trembled, and tears streamed down her face. Kui Jun rushed up immediately, but when he saw the centipedes, his legs went weak. No, how could they compete? Centipedes. Let his cousin concoct this martial art? Couldn't they just let someone else do it? The Kui family had a lot of workers. Kui Zhanxian immediately said, "No, we have to compete. If they went all out now, they might be able to win 2 more rounds. Then, it would be a draw, and his son wouldn't be affected. They had already come this far, but they had to back down. What kind of logic was that? Besides, wasn't it just some centipedes? Which of the pharmacists present hadn't tried it before? If others could do it, why couldn't she?" Sun Yang shook her head. She couldn't do it. Besides, she didn't know how to concoct the centipedes. She had never tried it before, so she would definitely make a mistake. If that was the case, why should she compete? Why should she come into contact with so many disgusting things? All these years, she learned how to make medicine, not because she liked it, but because it brought her enough benefits and fame. Moreover, she didn't have to work so hard at it back then. Seeing that Sun Yang refused to step forward no matter what, Kui Zhanyuan almost went crazy. Sun Yang, our Kui family has raised you for so many years, and this is how you repay us? I can't. Uncle, I'm going to lose anyway. Sun Yang was completely flustered. She didn't know how she lost to Jing Yunjiao. Everything felt like a dream. At the same time, Jing Yunjiao acted as if she couldn't hear the commotion. She raised her hand to clean the centipedes, removing their heads and tails one by one. Her appearance was peaceful, yet it made people's hair stand on end. Most of the people present, except for some of the younger ones, had cleaned these things before. However, no one was as calm as Jing Yunjiao, who didn't even frown. Jing Yunjiao wasn't calm, but he was trained by Elder Shu. During the first month of learning how to make medicine from Elder Shu, she had seen these things. In Elder Shu's words, if she could handle the most terrifying things, then other things were nothing. During that time, she had almost handled all the terrifying living things in Elder Shu's yard. Now, what did all this count for? The better Jing Yunjiao performed, the worse Sun Yang would lose. Mr. Kui Zhan was afraid that it would affect his son's future, so he was particularly angry. Seeing Sun Yang lying on the ground and not getting up, he reached out and pulled her up. Sun Yang was also in despair. Even though she knew that she had done her best, she was even more certain that she would never be supported by the Kui family in the future. She was no longer part of the Sun family when she was sent to the Kui family by her parents. There were still sisters-in-law in the Sun family, so no one would care about her. Sun Yang's pale face slowly turned cold. She stared at Kui Zhanxian and looked at the hand that was reaching out. Don't touch me, I've already lost. It's impossible. Even if you force me, I won't win, Sun Yang said, having nothing to lose. How would you know if you don't try? Since you want to bet, then bet till the end. Otherwise, get out of the Kui family for me in the future, Kui Zhanxian said furiously. He was simply useless. So be it. What's the big deal? Do you think your Kui family is so great? I've had enough of all this nonsense. Anyway, I've already lost. Isn't it just that I can't make medicine in the future? Okay, I can't ask for more. Chapter 361. As Sun Yang spoke, she stood up from the ground and brushed her clothes. She stared at Kui Zhanxian and continued, You were the one who agreed to let me gamble. It's too late to regret it now. I can't beat her. When Sun Yang said that, Kui Zhanxian was furious. He raised his hand and slapped her. He instantly knocked her to the ground. Nonsense. That's because you didn't put in the effort. If she put in the effort, if she worked hard enough, how could she not win? She was a few years older than Jing Yunjiao. Had she been eating for the past few years been for nothing? Sun Yang covered her face. A trace of hatred flashed in her eyes. She glared at Kui Zhanxian and glanced at Jing Yunjiao. She was still dealing with the centipedes. How could she deal with such disgusting things? It made her want to vomit. I just lost a competition. If it weren't for Kui Zhan, I wouldn't have come today. Now you're blaming me? Why are you blaming me? Sun Yang clenched her fists and said angrily. Kui Zhanxian snorted coldly. His expression was ugly. She had embarrassed him. Who else could he blame but her? Could it be that he was going to blame his son? But Kui Zhan didn't participate in the competition. He was just implicated. With the anger of the two and Sun Yang's admission of defeat, the competition came to an end. Jing Yunjiao dealt with some preliminary things and didn't do anything else. These centipedes wouldn't go to waste anyway. Jing Yunjiao, you're very proud, aren't you? The thing I regret the most is coming today. If I hadn't listened to Kui Zhan, I would still be fine now. After everything was settled, Sun Yang said to Jing Yunjiao. Jing Yunjiao just looked at her quietly. The reason you came wasn't because you were loyal, but because you wanted to show your kindness in front of others. You don't have to blame others. She came because Kui Zhan invited her? No, as long as she knew that Jing Yunjiao was here, Sun Yang would have come even if Kui Jun wasn't here. She liked to stand in the position of the Virgin Mary and look down on a pitiful person like her. Whatever you say. You won anyway. Sun Yang gritted her teeth. Her heart was in a state of panic and emptiness. That kind of disgust and hatred caused her entire body to tremble, and she was on the verge of losing her mind. Jing Yunjiao raised an eyebrow. He walked over to Tong Yang and Ji Shanshan and took the ginseng back. As for the protection fee, Jing Yunjiao was not stingy. He returned to the house and took out 2 small boxes. I made this myself. It's good for the skin. Although Jing Yunjiao had a lot of ginseng in her hands, she couldn't treat herself as a money-scattering girl. In particular, the quality of the ginseng was extremely high. If he took it out too often, it would definitely cause trouble. Therefore, after much consideration, Jing Yunjiao decided to take out the ointment that he had developed in his free time. It would definitely be slightly better than the cosmetics that were bought outside. If it was before, Ji Shanshan wouldn't have believed it. However, after witnessing Jing Yunjiao's abilities, she accepted it without hesitation. The fragrance and the exquisite box made her very fond of it. Tong Yang was much calmer. She didn't want Jing Yunjiao's protection fee at all. However, Ji Shanshan still hadn't forgotten Jing Yunjiao's promise from before. After receiving the gift, she pestered Jing Yunjiao to open the brocade box and let Jing Yunjiao take a closer look at it. She didn't know how to control her actions, causing the old people to be nervous, afraid that Jing Yunjiao would break such a good thing. Ji Shanshan, whose side are you on? Why are you still so happy that I've been removed from the list? Unfortunately, someone couldn't stand it anymore. Kui Jun didn't care whether he could inherit the family business or not. After all, he didn't feel interested in making medicine yet. However, he didn't like this kind of embarrassing feeling. Chapter 362. Hearing his words, Ji Shanshan was a little unhappy. She wasn't competing. Did she have to fight to the death like them? Her father was angry just now. Not only did Kui Jun not restrain himself, he even scolded her in front of her father. Did he not consider her family's feelings? Ji Shanshan was angry, but she wouldn't vent her anger on Kui Jun. Or rather, she had never tried to vent her anger on Kui Jun, so she pretended not to hear him. However, Kui Jun wasn't his usual self. After being hit repeatedly, he was on the verge of exploding. Ji Shanshan wasn't Sun Yang, so he didn't have to be patient. In his subconscious, Ji Shanshan was his follower. He didn't need to turn around to drag her along, but he wouldn't allow her to fall behind either. However, this follower ignored his existence. How could he tolerate that? Kui Jun said coldly, "You're ignoring me, right? Don't come looking for me in the future." The Ji family's faces turned ugly. Jing Yunjiao looked at Ji Shanshan with a mocking expression. In fact, Ji Shanshan was a person who cared a lot about her reputation. She just ignored it in front of the person she liked. Now that she saw Jing Yunjiao's expression, she felt uncomfortable. Moreover, his parents were livid. Just as she was hesitating about what to say, she saw a figure rushing toward Kui Jun. Ji Shanshan panicked. When she came to her senses, she saw her brother pouncing on Kui Jun and smashing his face. She was stunned. Suddenly, there was a commotion. The Kui family, the Ji family, and the others who came to join in the fun were in a mess. Ji Zhengxing, don't think I'm afraid of your Ji family. Now that your son is hitting my son, your daughter will never be able to be with Kui Jun. Kui Zhanxian was furious. Kui Jun covered his face. Ji Shanshan, your family is a bunch of bastards. How dare you hit my son? I dumped you. Ji Shanshan was stunned. She hadn't even started dating Kui Jun yet. How did she get dumped? Jing Yunjiao smiled at the wrong time. This must be the family of a cornered dog jumping over the wall, right? She didn't want to meddle too much with the Ji family's matters, especially with Ji Shanshan. Their relationship wasn't good enough for Jing Yunjiao to step in and help her out. Moreover, this stubborn idiot was useless even if Jing Yunjiao helped her. Thus, Jing Yunjiao took her things and returned to her room. Behind him was Sun Yang's venomous gaze. Jing Yunjiao wasn't afraid of her. If she liked to stare, then so be it. She wouldn't lose anything anyway. Besides, she couldn't possibly go up and gouge out Sun Yang's eyes just because someone looked at her too much, right? Jing Yunjiao went back to his room, entered the space to study, and then went to sleep. Outside, the events of the night were far more exciting than she had expected. When she woke up in the morning and went out to take a look, the courtyard was still in a mess. The medicinal herbs and supplementary materials on the table yesterday were all overturned on the ground, extremely wasteful. Because it was very late at night, there was no time to clean it up. The gathering had been held for many years. Although the location was different every time, there had never been such a terrible beating. Kui Jun's face was bruised and swollen. The perpetrator was Ji Shanshan's brother. This kind of situation was not allowed here, so the Ji family's brother was kicked out and left in the morning. As for Kui Jun and Sun Yang, they were also going to leave. However, the Kui family was waiting for her to personally mediate. The moment Tong Yang told her that the Kui family wanted to mediate, Jing Yunjiao's face flashed a faint sneer. Mediate only after losing? Did they take her for a fool? Chapter 363. In the front hall, the father and son of the Kui family were sitting upright. Sun Yang was beside them, clearly out of place with the father and son of the Kui family. When Jing Yunjiao arrived, Kui Zhanxian immediately greeted her. Miss Jing. He put on a fake smile. Jing Yunjiao stopped in her tracks. Why, Miss Sun and young Master Kui haven't left yet? This contract was signed a long time ago. As long as I win, you'll immediately get out of my sight, right? She had heard from Tong Yang that when Ji Shanshan's brother was kicked out, Kui Jun was very arrogant. Now that it was her turn, he was scared. As soon as Jing Yunjiao finished speaking, Kui Zhanxian suppressed his anger. Miss Jing, don't always leave a way out for others. Don't you think so? I admit that these two children made the wrong decision yesterday. They shouldn't have competed with you, but since you've already competed, isn't your reputation enough? Our Kui family only has one son, Kui Jun. If he doesn't become a pharmacist in the future, then our Kui family's legacy will be broken. What does that have to do with me? Jing Yunjiao was firm. Not to mention the Kui family's legacy being broken, even if the family line was broken, it had nothing to do with her, right? Kui Jun was looking for trouble, but she still had to consider the Kui family. She wasn't Ji Shanshan. She wouldn't be so stupid as to be so shameless for a boy like this. Miss Jing, do you think the benefits aren't enough? Fine, I'll give you 100,000 as long as you give up that contract and tell the public that the competition will be void in the future. I can take out a ginseng at a sky-high price. Do you think I'll be short of 100,000? Jing Yunjiao found it more and more funny. Father Kui gritted his teeth. You want the right to use the herb field, right? As long as you agree, once I win the competition, I'll give you half of the right to use the herb field. In fact, the right to use the herb field referred to money. The winner of this competition would receive a portion of the income from the herb field. Whether it was the herbs inside or the money from selling them, it would all belong to the winner. Of course, this would have to exclude the fees of the farmer. This medicinal field was so big. Every time there was a harvest of medicinal herbs, the families of these master pharmacists would naturally come to negotiate. The money they earned was not small. If I want the medicine field, I will win myself. Moreover, with my experience, I can see that you won't be able to win. This kind of empty promise is useless to me. Jing Yunjiao didn't give him any face. Did this Kui Zhanxian take her for a fool? With so many master pharmacists present, when would it be the Kui family's turn to win? Of course, Jing Yunjiao didn't think that she could win. After all, although she had learned a lot, her pharmaceutical techniques were relatively inexperienced. She couldn't compare to those seniors who had been in the field for decades. However, even if she couldn't win, she wouldn't fall behind others. That was enough, because the three seniors were about the same age as Elder Shu. Although their status was not as high as Elder Shu's, they were still very high. They were used to maintain the balance of the medicine association. If she couldn't defeat the three of them, she would only be able to obtain a quarter of the medicine field's income. The remaining 3/4 would be in the hands of the three of them. However, for each person she won, she would receive a portion of the medicine field's income. No matter what the result was, she wouldn't lose out. Kui Zhanxian didn't expect Jing Yunjiao to be so arrogant. Now that he saw that she wasn't cooperating, he became even angrier. He simply didn't hide it and said, "Jing Yunjiao, it won't do you any good to push me too far. Enough is enough. So what if it won't do me any good? A person needs to live for a breath. Your son has made things difficult for me, so he deserves to be removed from the competition," Jing Yunjiao said coldly. Her aura wasn't weak at all. Chapter 364. After Jing Yunjiao finished speaking, Kui Zhanxian glared at her for a long time. It was a pity that Jing Yunjiao didn't even look at him in the eye. She might as well just ask people to escort Sun Yang and Kui Jun away. The winner was the king, and the loser was the bandit. She had won in front of so many people, so she was qualified to fulfill the agreement. The two of them were driven to the intersection, and there were many onlookers. Wait. When Kui Jun was driven to the car, Ji Shanshan suddenly rushed out and ran to Kui Jun. "Kui Jun, you have to apologize to my family." When Kui Jun saw Ji Shanshan, he thought of the wound on his face. "Are you crazy? Go away." When Ji Shanshan heard that, she suddenly went crazy. She reached out and tore at Kui Jun's clothes. She even prepared a blade in her hand. The onlookers were stunned and didn't dare to help. In a short while, Kui Jun's clothes were unrecognizable. Not only that, she rushed to Sun Yang in the next second. Staring at her neck, she reached out and tore the necklace off her neck. "I bought all these," Ji Shanshan said angrily. In order to please Kui Jun, she had specially bought a female necklace for him to give to Sun Yang to show that she was reconciling with her. Who knew that Sun Yang would turn hostile after taking the necklace, which made her hate her even more. Also, Kui Jun's watch, phone, and coat were all given out by her during various festivals. Now, she wanted to get them back one by one. She liked Kui Jun, and she still liked him now. Kui Jun could bully her and ignore her, but he definitely couldn't provoke her parents and brother. Yesterday, her brother fought with Kui Jun for her, and today, he was driven out directly. In the future, he wouldn't be able to raise his head in front of his peers. Today, her parents looked at her with disappointment. She had never been so afraid. When she couldn't catch up with Kui Jun, she was also sad, but it was different from the feeling in the early morning. When her brother was driven away, it was as if the sky was falling. However, Kui Jun was still shouting and scolding her. He said that she was crazy, that she was a shrew, and that she had embarrassed her parents. Since he said that she was a shrew, then she would show him what she was made of. For her parents, she would never be good to him again. After Ji Shanshan snatched her things, she didn't forget to say, "When you go back, return your computer to me. I know your family doesn't lack money, so don't take my things." He would be a scoundrel to the end and help Buddha to the west. After saying all this, Ji Shanshan walked back to Papa Ji with reddened eyes and cried hard. Kui Jun had lost a lot of face. He immediately hated Ji Shanshan. Sun Yang was even more unlucky. Kui Jun had a car, but she didn't. Because Kui Zhanyuan had decided to kick her out of the Kui family, she could only walk to the platform and live in the school. So, she had to earn her tuition and living expenses by herself. It was precisely because he thought of the miserable future that he felt even more resentful. Her eyes looked as if they were about to spit fire as she engraved Jing Yunjiao's humiliating name deep into her heart. Clenching her teeth, her figure slowly left the crowd's line of sight. Step by step, she cursed Jing Yunjiao in her heart. "Jing Yunjiao, my brother asked me to apologize to you before he left. Although I don't know what to apologize for, I'm sorry," Ji Shanshan said bitterly. She was heartbroken. She had to apologize to Jing Yunjiao when she was heartbroken. This was the saddest thing in the world. Chapter 365. Ji Shanshan's eyes were as swollen as walnuts. Jing Yunjiao couldn't bear to see her like this. She couldn't bring herself to do this for someone who wasn't worth it. As for Ji Shanshan's apology, Jing Yunjiao simply nodded and turned to leave. However, Ji Shanshan immediately pounced on him. "Don't go. What did you mean by that attitude just now? Do you think I'm that stupid?" Jing Yunzhao's gaze was clearly disdainful of her. She still remembered Jing Yunzhao's words about Kui Jun's character being problematic, but she just couldn't see it. The more she looked at Kui Jun, the better she became. She even thought that Kui Jun was perfect. Of course, there was one black mark she couldn't accept, and that was his disrespect for her parents. Jing Yunzhao's feet paused. You do. Her gaze was serious and solemn. At the side, Tong Yang's mouth twitched, but he found it funny. Jing Yunzhao actually answered such a question that made people speechless. This wasn't like her at all. After last night's comparison, Jing Yunzhao had become a goddess in Tong Yang's heart. Her calm demeanor, her ability to kill Sun Yang with a single sentence, no matter what it was about her, it was admirable. However, Jing Yunzhao gave him a repulsive feeling. She was unapproachable. Even though he could exchange a few words with her, he still felt that she was out of reach. This kind of pressure was like that of a senior. However, Jing Yunzhao looked like she was only 16 or 17. She looked much younger than him. Ji Shanshan snorted. You just can't stand me. Great, now that Kui Jun is gone, you must be laughing at me in your heart. Jing Yunzhao's eyelids twitched. She looked up at the sky, speechless. Since you know that I can't stand you, then stop hanging around in front of me, okay? Jing Yunzhao said helplessly. That won't do. The more you hate me, the more I want you to see me. You live in Huaning County, right? Why don't you take me to have some fun? I've never been there before, Ji Shanshan said. When he spoke, his voice was thick and nasal, giving off a pitiful look, as if Jing Yunzhao's refusal was a huge sin. Ji Shanshan was a troublesome and unreasonable person. Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Jing Yunzhao would never let herself get involved with this idiot. She immediately replied, no. After saying that, he immediately left, ignoring Ji Shanshan's yelling behind him. Ji Shanshan wailed for a long time. She was in a bad mood, and Tong Yang and Father Ji were coaxing her. Ji Shanshan knew that after embarrassing Kui Jun, she would never be able to catch up with him in the future. Between her family and Kui Jun, she would still choose the former. The final competition of the medicine fair also began on this day. Jing Yunzhao had left such an impression on them that the elders could no longer treat her as an ordinary child. Kui Jun's father, Kui Zhanxian, boasted that he would be the champion, but in reality, he was eliminated in the first round. It wasn't that he was incapable, but that he wasn't as focused as the others. His state of mind was in chaos, and he couldn't concentrate on his work. He made frequent mistakes in simple concocting tasks. The three elders could tolerate him once or twice, but when they saw that he couldn't concentrate on concocting the ingredients, they chose to eliminate him without hesitation. Kui Zhanxian was a reputable figure, so he couldn't bear to be eliminated in the first round. That night, he got into a carriage and left the farm. Jing Yunzhao, on the other hand, overcame all difficulties and jumped out of the crowd. Chapter 366. Jing Yunzhao also knew that there had to be a limit to everything. As a parachutist, she had won against so many elders who were older than her. Although she had a reputation, she would also attract hatred. She couldn't go overboard in everything. If water was full, it would overflow. Therefore, in the end, Jing Yunzhao didn't compare herself with the three elders in this medicine fair. After all, the three elders were well aware of her performance. Moreover, she had an innate advantage. These elders had accumulated years of hard work and experience. It was not worthwhile for her to go overboard and embarrass them. However, even if the competition didn't end, Jing Yunzhao was undoubtedly the biggest winner in this medicine fair. A quarter of the profit from the medicinal field was not small. In the next year, that sum of money would be sent to her. Since Jing Yunzhao had won and was related to Elder Shu, her status naturally rose. Those who were originally prepared to go easy on her felt as if they had been slapped in the face. They were flustered. After Jing Yunzhao left, all of them heaved a sigh of relief. This medicine fair was simply a trial for them. However, because of this, they were a little more alert. What they had lost was not knowledge, but seriousness. Although their reputations had been rising over the years, in reality, they had less contact with medicinal herbs than before. They had sons and disciples and could hire people to do things for them. Therefore, they rarely took the initiative to intervene in matters of concocting medicinal herbs. They would only step in if they encountered something that others couldn't handle. However, this also led to more and more flaws in their methods even though they knew a lot. However, Jing Yunjiao was different. She was very serious about any medicinal herbs. Even if her methods were a little rusty at the beginning, she would rather be slow than be perfunctory. As a result, her concocting process was almost perfect. Now that they had lost to Jing Yunjiao, they couldn't help but reflect on themselves. Jing Yunjiao was also considered polite. Although she had one, she also knew that she had been very lucky. She was very polite to everyone and gave them a lot of face. This attitude also made these people feel a little better. Their impression of Jing Yunjiao was also better than before. Once the competition was over, Jing Yunjiao directly rushed back to Huaning County. She had taken a week's leave, and with the rest days in between, she still had 3 days to relax. However, when Jing Yunjiao returned home, he found that Su Chu and Gan Jinchen were not in high spirits. If it had been in the past, Su Chu would have pounced on her the moment she entered the room. But this time, she sank into the sofa and frowned as if she had something important to say. Jing Yunjiao felt a little uneasy when he saw her like this. "Cousin, you're back." Su Chu greeted him with a smile, but she couldn't hide the disappointment on her face. Jing Yunjiao put down his things and walked over. He looked at Gan Jinchen and asked, "What happened?" "Xiao Haiqing transferred schools," Gan Jinchen said. Jing Yunjiao's heart skipped a beat, and his face darkened. "When? Which school did she transfer to?" Gan Jinchen sighed and said, "It was the 3rd day after you left. You also know that their family does business, right? Uncle Xiao's business is getting better and better. Now, he is preparing to move the family to Ning City. Xiao Haiqing wanted to stay here, but his father didn't allow it. He forcefully transferred her away. As for the school, we contacted Xiao Haiqing and found out that it's not a good school. It's not even in Ning City. It's not even as good as our county's first high school." Chapter 367. After Gan Jinchen finished speaking, Jing Yunjiao's face darkened. "I really don't know what her father is thinking. No matter what, Xiao Haiqing is still his daughter. Even though it's reasonable for him to bring her to Ning City, he should have found a good school. Yet, he chose a mediocre one. I asked my father to ask around and found out that the school is private. There are many second-generation heirs who aren't considered rich, but are better than the average family." Gan Jinchen was also furious. Jing Yunjiao carefully recalled the events in her mind. She realized that there were some differences between the Xiao family's relocation and her previous life. In her previous life, Xiao Hongye had always been in school. When she returned home, she mentioned Xiao Haiqing many times. Thus, she was certain that Xiao Haiqing had always been living in Huaning County until she was admitted to a university in the capital. But since that was the case in her previous life, why would there be a change now? Jing Yunjiao was secretly shocked. Was it because of her? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Jing Yunjiao was also at a loss. Xiao Haiqing said that if you were willing to take a leave, it must be something important. Anyway, even if you knew, it wouldn't change anything. So, we should wait for you to come back first, Gan Jinchen said. Cousin, what do you think Haiqing should do? I heard that she's living with her stepmother and brother now. Won't she be bullied by them every day? Also, that lousy school is so messy. Haiqing definitely can't focus on her studies. Su Chu curled her lips anxiously. In the past, when Xiao Haiqing was in Huaning County, she always lived in her deceased mother's old house. She rarely met with her stepmother and brother. Thus, even though they didn't get along well, there were few conflicts. But now, it was different. In Ning City, Xiao Haiqing had no friends and was suppressed by her stepmother. Her situation was definitely not good. Jing Yunjiao was also a little frustrated. Especially when she thought about how she might have affected Xiao Haiqing's future, she felt even more guilty. Xiao Haiqing had lived a carefree life in her previous life. She had married a few people, but all of her husbands had died. Although she did not know why she had become a black widow in the mouths of others, but when she saw her flamboyant smile on the newspaper, she felt that she had lived a carefree life. Now that things had gone off the rails, what would her life be like? Jing Yunjiao secretly shook his head, unable to understand. He turned back to the house and called Xiao Haiqing. Unfortunately, the other end of the phone was busy and no one answered. After more than half an hour, she received a reply. "Darling, are you done?" On the other end of the phone, Xiao Haiqing's voice was still bright and beautiful, but Jing Yunjiao could hear that it was a little stiff and hoarse. He didn't know what was wrong, but it was different from usual. "What's going on?" Jing Yunjiao asked. Xiao Haiqing paused. "Don't worry, it's not a problem. It's just a change of environment. As for you, have you settled everything?" "Xiao Haiqing, didn't you say that you would take care of me in the future? Why, it's only been a year, and you're already leaving? You can leave, but you should at least give me an explanation, right?" Jing Yunjiao's voice was cold, and listening to it made one's scalp tingle. Xiao Haiqing scratched her head. "I did say that I would take care of you, but you don't need me to. Tell me clearly, what's going on now?" Jing Yunjiao's attitude was firm. Xiao Haiqing sighed on the other end of the phone. "Really, I knew I couldn't persuade you. My father received a big project. Our family is going to be a landlord from now on. My father was happy and bought a house in Ning City. He can't just leave me, his daughter, in Ning County, can he? What about school? I heard from Gan Jinchen that you went to a low-class school," Jing Yunjiao said again. Chapter 368. Xiao Haiqing was very smart. She had been very stable this year. She was in the top 50 of the grade. Her strength was still very good. With her grades and the Xiao family's current family background, it was not impossible for her to go to a key school in Ning City. In any case, she shouldn't be reduced to going to a low-class school, right? Jing Yunjiao didn't mean to discriminate against those schools, but he had to admit that the so-called good school environment was indeed better. The school was messed up by that woman. Xiao Haiqing seemed to be a little cynical and said, "The woman told my father that Mingyang High School was an aristocratic school. There were many children of wealthy families in it. I grew up in Ning County. My temper was wild and unpresentable, so she suggested that my father send me to that school to have more contact with those children of wealthy families. I can also learn some etiquette and rules. Otherwise, when I accompany my father to attend some activities in the future, I will embarrass him." Jing Yunjiao listened and felt a burst of anger in his heart, let alone Xiao Haiqing herself. "Why didn't I see you so obedient before?" Jing Yunjiao murmured. "I can't do anything. That was my father. He said that if I didn't listen, he would sell the house my mother left me. Yunjiao, when my mother died, she only left a house. Although it wasn't big, the location wasn't good, and it wasn't worth much money, it was left to me by her. If it was sold by that family, then I will suffer for a lifetime. Isn't it just a school? It's not a place that will eat people." "I'm not afraid," Xiao Haiqing said. She was not afraid, but she was sullen in her heart. Jing Yunjiao knew Xiao Haiqing better. She was flamboyant, arrogant, and careless. She valued friendship more than anyone else. She had always regarded her face as more important than anything else. In the past, she used to fight people in school just to vent her anger. Now, she had to suppress this anger. It would be strange if she felt good. Moreover, she lived with the woman she mentioned. "I still have 3 days off. Can I go to Ning City to find you? Is it convenient?" Jing Yunjiao asked. Xiao Haiqing was stunned. "Of course I'd love to, but forget it. I'm living with the old witch and the little devil at home. I don't want you to suffer with me. I'll go take a look. Otherwise, I'll be worried," Jing Yunjiao said again. Although she and Xiao Haiqing had only known each other for about a year, it could be said that she regretted not having met her earlier. If there was a friend who could make her not hesitate, it would definitely be Xiao Haiqing. Xiao Haiqing pondered for a while. "Then you can come and stay with me tonight." Jing Yunjiao heaved a sigh of relief. After saying this, Jing Yunjiao chatted with her for a while and roughly understood the situation of the Xiao family. Xiao Haiqing's mother passed away early, when she was about 7 or 8 years old. 2 years later, Xiao Haiqing's father married a new woman. When she married, she was already pregnant and gave birth to a big fat boy. When the stepmother first married Xiao Haiqing, she was naturally very good to Xiao Haiqing. Every day, she would ask about her well-being, which made Xiao Haiqing's father feel very relieved. But in Xiao Haiqing's words, this stepmother wanted to beat her to death. When she was 10 years old, she hated this new mother, so she ran away from home. However, she had no money, so she stole 500 yuan from her family. But at that time, she was still young and didn't know the way, so she was sent back. After returning home, her father naturally wanted to beat her severely, but her stepmother stopped him and threatened her with the baby in her belly. Only then did she manage to escape. At that time, she was naturally very grateful. She thought that this stepmother cared about her wholeheartedly and was moved for a long time. Chapter 369. Xiao Haiqing was still young at that time, so she wasn't very clear about what was right and what was wrong. After she ran away from home, her stepmother treated her even better. She gave her enough money and would even introduce her children to her as her little friends. However, those people didn't get along with her and always said that she was a burden, so they often quarreled. Every time, her stepmother would apologize. In just a year, her father became more and more disappointed in her. Her relatives and friends also felt that she was not very sensible since she was young. When she was angry, she became worse and worse. She hung out on the streets every day like a delinquent girl and didn't like to go to class. However, her stepmother still didn't scold her and still spoke for her. At that time, she had a grandfather who was not very healthy. Although she learned bad things, she was very well behaved every time she saw this grandfather. However, once, her grandfather accidentally saw her arrogantly hanging out with a group of delinquents and fainted on the spot. Her grandfather's health was not good, and he became worse after being angered by her. However, at that time, he was still afraid that she would become worse, so he scolded her fiercely. She suddenly realized the difference between her grandfather and her stepmother who doted on her. Since then, she kept a distance from her stepmother. However, in her father's eyes, she was still a frivolous person. She simply played and ate. When she entered high school, she simply moved out of the house. Not long after her grandfather reprimanded her, he passed away. She didn't even have anyone to rely on. Jing Yunjiao chatted with her for a long time. After hanging up the phone, she still felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. Xiao Haiqing's father was his biological child, but he didn't even believe in his own child. She shivered in an instant. She always felt that she didn't want to understand her biological parents more and more. Although this was unfilial, she would rather be like before or like Xiao Haiqing. She would rather be wild. Jing Yunjiao just came back from Ning City, but after hanging up the phone that day, she left again. Su Chu and Gan Jinchen still had classes in the afternoon, so naturally, they could only watch her leave. "Cousin, when you come back, you must tell me what that evil old witch looks like. I will curse her every day." Su Chu gritted her teeth. Gan Jinchen frowned. "It's a pity that outsiders like us can't help her. You should comfort her when you go over. The college entrance examination will be in a year and a half. At that time, we will all go to the same school. Oh right, I need to inform Tang Zihua later. His family is from Serene City and they are very powerful. I need him to send people to pay more attention to them." Su Chu mumbled again. They all knew that Tang Zihua's family background was very good, but they had never asked him for help. After all, they were a group of people who cared about their reputation. But at this moment, how much was face worth? Xiao Haiqing's life was more important. The two of them gave her a good explanation, as if she was a messenger of justice who was going to rid the world of violence and bring peace to the people. Jing Yunjiao smiled bitterly in response. Jing Yunjiao packed up and prepared to go out. But just as she walked to the entrance of the neighborhood, she saw a familiar figure squatting next to the security room, staring at the people coming and going. When Jing Yunjiao saw the other party, the corner of her mouth couldn't help but twitch twice. She didn't know whether to advance or retreat. Just as she was stunned on the spot, The figure turned around and caught a glimpse of her. Instantly, the eyes of the figure lit up. Without a word, the two of them rushed towards Jing Yunjiao. Jing Yunjiao, I finally found you. I asked a lot of people on the way here. Fortunately, you are famous, or I wouldn't have a place to stay tonight. Chapter 370. Ji Shanshan's attitude was too enthusiastic, causing Jing Yunjiao to jump in fright and dodge. What are you doing here? Jing Yunjiao felt a headache coming on. I'm here to look for you. I'm heartbroken. Our house is quite close to the Kui family. If I go back, I'll definitely want to bow down to Kui Jun. If that happens, I'll be letting my father and brother down. So, I thought it'd be better for me to go out and relax. I've asked for leave from school. It's not time yet, so I'm free. Ji Shanshan did as she pleased. She kept saying that she was heartbroken, but other than her eyes being a little red and swollen, there was nothing out of the ordinary about her. She was willful, mischievous, and did whatever she wanted. But I'm going out now, Jing Yunjiao said. Ji Shanshan was stunned. She also saw the luggage in her hand. Where are you going? Back to Ning City to see a friend, then let's go together. You can't leave me alone in Hua Ning County, right? Then you'll be more and more annoying. Anyway, I don't care. I'm in a bad mood right now, and the wounded are the most important. If you don't let me come with you, then I'm going to quarrel with you right now. Ji Shanshan threatened. Jing Yunjiao's mouth twitched. Why was she so clingy? You're not going to respond, are you? Then I'll shout. Ji Shanshan snorted, then said loudly, Jing Yunjiao. Then you can come with me. Jing Yunjiao was speechless. Ji Shanshan would never say anything nice. If she really scolded her in public, although it wouldn't be a big deal to her, it would still be annoying. Moreover, her life had just been a little quieter recently. She didn't want to attract attention because of it. A victorious smile appeared on Ji Shanshan's face as she grinned. Who told you to call me a retard? If you scold me again, I'll stand at the entrance of your neighborhood every day and shout at the top of my lungs. Ji Shanshan snorted, proud of herself. She was simply shameless. Jing Yunjiao had never seen a girl with such a thick skin. She had bad taste, protective, irritable, and shameless. There was nothing good about her. Knowing her was simply torture. We've agreed that we'll go our separate ways after we arrive at Ning City. I really have something to do. Jing Yunjiao reminded her again while carrying the luggage. That won't do. You're in trouble, but I'm fine. And didn't you say you wanted to meet a friend? If you don't let me see him, is he my boyfriend? Ji Shanshan nagged and said, Do you have the heart to see my boyfriend when I'm heartbroken? Who are you to me? Why wouldn't I be able to bear it? Jing Yunjiao directly replied. He couldn't even be considered a friend. At most, he could be considered a familiar stranger. Jing Yunjiao, you're bullying me, aren't you? You're too heartless. If you didn't compete with Sun Yang, I wouldn't have provoked her, I wouldn't have quarreled with Kui Jun, and I wouldn't have fallen out of love. In the end, it's all your fault. You have to take responsibility, Ji Shanshan said. Jing Yunjiao looked at her in disbelief. There's nothing wrong with your heart, right? It's your own bad eyesight that mistook her for someone else. What does it have to do with me? Besides, he wanted her to take responsibility. She wasn't a boy. How could she take responsibility? Yes, it's your fault. If I say so, then so be it. Ji Shanshan didn't care about Jing Yunjiao's thoughts at all. She looked at her coldly and continued to follow her. Aya, you stingy person. I'll pay for myself. Just let me follow you. Ji Shanshan curled her lips. She was shameless to the extreme. Chapter 371. Jing Yunjiao was annoyed by her, so she walked to the station instead of taking a taxi. She had a foundation in martial arts, so she walked very fast and carried little luggage. Ji Shanshan, on the other hand, was dragging a large suitcase and carrying a heavy backpack. She followed behind her with her small arms and legs, and was soon left far behind. But surprisingly, Ji Shanshan didn't yell at her and tried to keep up. She looked very stubborn. When Jing Yunjiao turned her head and saw her unwillingness to admit defeat, A strange feeling flashed through her heart. She sighed and waited on the spot for a while. Go ahead. Don't look down on me. I can keep up. Ji Shanshan nagged as she kept up. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You just want to bully me, right? Unfortunately, I'm in a bad mood now. I like to be abused. Just come at me like a storm. Jing Yunjiao sighed. Ji Shanshan was really something. Jing Yunjiao stopped a taxi and threw Ji Shanshan's luggage onto it. Get in. She was so bored that she would argue with such an idiot. Ji Shanshan grinned. You're like a domineering CEO. Unfortunately, I have a sweetheart. You don't have a chance. As he spoke, he placed his bag in the front passenger seat and sat beside Jing Yunjiao. Jing Yunjiao was too lazy to argue with her now. After all, her personality wasn't something that could be reasoned with. She remained silent throughout the journey, but Ji Shanshan was like a loudspeaker, blaring non-stop in her ears. Don't be fooled by her willfulness, her mouth was still very sweet. She chatted happily with the driver, and the driver only took half of the fare. Ji Shanshan was even more arrogant than before. She felt that she had played a role. Fortunately, she seemed to be really tired on the way to Serene City. She fell asleep as soon as she got in the car. Jing Yunjiao's ears were finally quiet. Is this your friend's house? It's quite luxurious. At night, they arrived at their destination. Jing Yunjiao made a phone call, and Xiao Haiqing quickly opened the door. This was a villa district. Every inch of land in Serene City was worth an inch of gold. The value of this house was not low. It could be seen that the Xiao family was living a good life. Xiao Haiqing glanced at Ji Shanshan, amused. The Jing Yunjiao she knew was confident and calm. Unless it was necessary, he was a man of few words. He was an honest man who liked to read with his head down. However, on the way here today, he complained to her on the phone for a while, saying that there was a noisy follower by his side that he couldn't get rid of. She could feel his resentment even through the phone. At that moment, she felt that Jing Yunjiao was finally down to earth. Therefore, she had a good impression of Ji Shanshan. Jing Yunjiao's usual life was too depressing. Making a friend like this, although it made her irritable, obviously made her feel more relaxed. It was just that she didn't realize it herself. The three of them entered the house and went up to a room on the 3rd floor. After putting down everything, Xiao Haiqing looked at Ji Shanshan and said, Hello, I'm Xiao Haiqing. Welcome to our house. I'm Ji Shanshan. You can call me Shanshan. Ji Shanshan was also very straightforward. Ji Shanshan kept her eyes on Jing Yunjiao and Xiao Haiqing. She found that the two of them were really compatible. One had a cold and arrogant temperament, the other had a heroic and generous temperament. There was no need to talk about their appearances. Jing Yunjiao belonged to the type that couldn't be blasphemed, while Xiao Haiqing looked like a careless boy, but if she were to dress up, she would be the hot type. On the other hand, standing next to the two of them, she looked much more ordinary. Chapter 372. Ji Shanshan didn't know why she wanted to follow Jing Yunjiao, but she really didn't want to go home. Her house was full of Kui Jun's photos and the things he liked and used. If she went back now, she didn't know what to do with them. She was afraid that she couldn't help but apologize to Kui Jun, just like before. After thinking for a while, she finally decided to look for Jing Yunjiao. He wanted to know what her life was like, or to find something for himself to do. In the past, she had followed Jing Yunjiao on the internet, so she knew that Jing Yunjiao was studying at County First Middle School. Thus, she dragged her things and walked over. She first stayed at the school entrance for a while, then asked a few people to inquire about her. Sure enough, Jing Yunjiao's name was very famous. Many people knew that she walked out of Warm Heart Garden every day. So she waited at the gate of the neighborhood. After waiting for a long time, her legs and feet went numb. Fortunately, her efforts paid off. But the funny thing was that she was brought back to Ning City by Jing Yunjiao. Although Ji Shanshan wasn't a very familiar person, she was used to being spoiled since she was young, so she didn't resist the unfamiliar environment. In a short while, she looked around the 3rd floor of Xiao Haiqing's house. The environment is pretty good, but are all the things you like in this house? It's so strange. Ji Shanshan said with a strange expression. The wardrobe was filled with beautiful clothes, but it was a pity that the style was too gaudy. It did not match Xiao Haiqing at all. The room was pink and there were many plush dolls. It was too cute. Other than that, there was a bookshelf. The books inside surprised her even more. How to be a socialite, the cultivation of a virtuous lady, how to cultivate your temperament. She didn't read these things, but a girl like Xiao Haiqing studied them every day. It was too shocking. Xiao Haiqing pursed her lips. My aunt bought them. Aunt? Aunt Nanny? Ji Shanshan looked ignorant. Xiao Haiqing giggled. She's the woman my father married. Oh, stepmother. Ji Shanshan became even more direct. After she finished speaking, she did not show any so-called sympathy. Instead, she asked directly, I heard that stepmothers are more vicious. This creature of yours is very strange. Since she cares so much about you and bought so many things for you, why did she buy all the wrong things? I can see that these things don't suit you. Xiao Haiqing glanced at Jing Yunjiao. I think Shanshan is quite cute. To tell the truth, he wasn't so scheming. Although his words weren't very likable, he wasn't a bad person. In fact, he was more amusing than happy. Of course. Only Jing Yunjiao thinks I'm annoying. Ji Shanshan snorted proudly. Jing Yunjiao's eyelids twitched. Don't praise her. She'll be in heaven soon. When Xiao Haiqing heard this, her eyes brightened. The more she thought about Ji Shanshan, the more she felt that Ji Shanshan was good. It wasn't that she liked Ji Shanshan, but Jing Yunjiao seemed to have a hard time controlling herself in front of Ji Shanshan. She would always say a few words that she normally wouldn't say. The three of them fooled around for a while. Not long after, it was time for dinner. The nanny at the door came to call them. Only then did the three of them tidy up and go downstairs. Downstairs, the dishes were already laid out on the dining table. Xiao Haiqing's father was sitting on the sofa, reading the financial newspaper. The beautiful stepmother was serving rice, and beside her was a little boy of about 5 or 6 years old. This family looked very harmonious. Xiao Haiqing did seem a little out of place when she appeared. Chapter 373. Jing Yunjiao and Ji Shanshan were people who knew the rules. After they went downstairs, they greeted them as uncle, auntie as a form of respect. Xiao Haiqing's father was called Xiao Daoan. He looked quite imposing and had the air of a successful person. After the two greeted him, Xiao Daoan put down the newspaper and grunted. He didn't take it to heart and his attitude was cold. Xiao Haiqing was obviously used to it. Yunjiao, there's something you like to eat today. I specially asked the kitchen to add another dish. As she spoke, she turned around and saw that the dishes on the table were not what she had ordered. Her expression instantly turned sour. Auntie, didn't I say that I wanted to add a dish of stir-fried fish tonight? Jing Yunjiao knew how to cook all kinds of complicated dishes. She often ate with Suchu and Gan Jinchen. Even though Jing Yunjiao's dishes were complicated, she liked light dishes. If it was meat, she could accept fish slices the most. The person Xiao Haiqing called was the housekeeper. The housekeeper was stunned and looked at her. The fish market closed early today. There's no fresh fish left. Moreover, Junjun is hungry. It takes a lot of effort to make fish slices. Waste time? Xiao Haiqing smiled. It was just a plate of fish slices. How much effort could it take? Haiqing, don't blame Sister Wang. The beautiful woman at the side said softly. She looked at Jing Yunjiao and said, Student, I'm sorry. It's just that the timing is a little untimely. It's not easy to prepare. Don't say it's not easy. I told her in the afternoon. Xiao Haiqing was angry. If it was any other time, it would have been fine. However, it was Yunjiao's first time here and there wasn't even a dish she liked. She clearly asked Auntie Wang to make lighter dishes, but the table was full of oily dishes. Auntie Wang was obviously not afraid of her. Miss Haiqing, don't say that. I heard that you have a classmate coming, so I've been busy since noon. These are all main dishes. In the end, there was only a plate of fish slices left. That's right, Haiqing. With so many dishes, it's quite thoughtful, isn't it? The woman asked. As he spoke, He walked in front of Jing Yunjiao. Your two classmates are really good looking. Old Xiao, take a look, they're even prettier than our Hai Qing. Especially this little classmate, one look and you can tell she's very obedient. Of course, he was referring to Ji Shanshan. On the surface, Ji Shanshan looked like a docile little sister next door. It was a pity that one couldn't judge a book by its cover. Ji Shanshan was a straightforward person. After being scolded by Xiao Haiqing, her stepmother, she said, "Auntie, I'm not as pretty as Xiao Haiqing. I know that. You don't need to comfort me." Jing Yunjiao couldn't help but find it funny. The next moment, Ji Shanshan continued, "Xiao Haiqing is so good looking. If you ask me, I'd say that she's no different from those rich young ladies. Genes are really important." As soon as she said that, not only Jing Yunjiao, but even Xiao Haiqing herself was amused. She had the genes of the Xiao family in her. However, these genes were partly from her father and partly from her deceased mother. She just didn't have her stepmother's genes. Xiao Haiqing's stepmother's surname was Jiang. She was quite good-looking, but she was a little stingy and narrow-minded. After Ji Shanshan said that, her face stiffened for a moment. Yes. Haiqing's genes are good. All right, let's sit down and eat." Xiao Haiqing pursed her lips and smiled. Xiao Daoan, the head of the family, didn't say anything from beginning to end. He was already sitting at the head of the table. "Haiqing, your classmate is from Huaning County, right? What does her family do?" Auntie Jiang asked again at the dining table. Chapter 374. This stepmother looked really kind, smiling from the beginning to the end. She was especially polite to Xiao Haiqing. However, if they were really a family, then she probably shouldn't treat them with such a polite attitude. When the stepmother asked, Xiao Daoan also looked over. Jing Yunjiao didn't need Xiao Haiqing to speak for her. She said, "I'm an orphan, my parents are unknown." "Ah. Then, how are you going to support yourself?" Auntie Jiang was shocked. Then, she looked at Xiao Haiqing and smiled. "Our Haiqing values friendship. It's okay, I'll give you more pocket money later." It was impossible not to think too much about what she said. However, she didn't say it directly. She even looked gratified, and no one could find any fault with it. Xiao Daoan frowned. Their Xiao family wasn't considered a big family, but they were lucky to have climbed up a big tree. However, it wasn't to the point where Xiao Haiqing could give away her wealth as she pleased. He didn't object to helping a classmate, but he understood the principle of saving the needy and not the poor. This classmate's parents were unknown, and she definitely didn't have the ability to support herself. He was afraid that he would have to give her money all the time, right? As the saying goes, if you raise the rice, you raise the rice, and if you raise the rice, you raise the hatred. It was okay to do good deeds, but don't raise trouble. Not everyone knew Jing Yunjiao. For example, the two people in front of them didn't know who Jing Yunjiao was at all. Xiao Haiqing's face turned even uglier. "What do you mean? What's wrong?" Auntie Jiang looked innocent. "What's wrong? Don't talk nonsense in front of Yunjiao. She has the ability to earn money, and it's not my turn to help her. Don't beat around the bush," Xiao Haiqing said coldly. In the past, she couldn't understand what this aunt was saying. However, as time passed and she slowly grew up, she finally understood why her father treated her worse and worse. When the same thing came out of Auntie Jiang's mouth, it was different from other people's. It would make people misunderstand. The more she explained, the worse it would be. Ji Shanshan only felt that those words were strange, but after being reminded by Xiao Haiqing, she immediately reacted and laughed. Jing Yunjiao is so amazing. He doesn't need other people's sympathy and help at all. Wasn't there a self-righteous white lotus before? Halfway through her words, everyone turned to look at her. Ji Shanshan was stunned. She looked at Jing Yunjiao. "Did I say something wrong?" "That's right. Didn't Sun Yang claim to be your benefactor a few days ago and come looking for trouble? I hate people who spout nonsense like this the most. You didn't take their money, so why do you need them to put on an act?" Ji Shanshan only understood half of it. It was impossible to say that she was completely ignorant. But the most worrisome thing was that his IQ had been raised by half. These words directly determined that Auntie Jiang was self-righteous. Jing Yunjiao suddenly felt that being an idiot was quite useful sometimes, especially when it came to Ji Shanshan. Her face was full of righteousness, and whoever denied her words might get angry with her. There was nothing they could do about it. Auntie Jiang's smile froze, and she laughed dryly. You rely on yourself. When Xiao Daoan heard that, he asked curiously. He then said, that's quite rare. What do you usually rely on to earn money? Can you afford your school fees? My school fees are all waived, and I also have a scholarship, Jing Yunjiao said directly. After saying that, Xiao Daoan was stunned and astonished. It was because he had never thought that his daughter would make friends with good students. In his impression, his daughter's classmates were all bad students, and his own grades were also very bad. So that's how it is. It's quite rare that you and Hai Qing can be friends. Xiao Daoan's attitude became better as he smiled. Jing Yunjiao looked at him with a strange expression. Uncle Xiao, is this very rare? Our class's grades are all in the top 50 of the school, and Hai Qing is not bad. Chapter 375. When Jing Yunjiao saw Xiao Daoan's reaction, he knew that he didn't know anything about his daughter, so he clarified for Xiao Haiqing. Without waiting for Xiao Daoan to speak, Jing Yunjiao chuckled and said, Haiqing's results aren't very stable. Sometimes, she's in the 30s, but sometimes, she can make it to the top 5 in the class. A few days ago, she even represented us in a citywide competition and won the 3rd prize. Jing Yunjiao wasn't lying. Although Xiao Haiqing looked unrestrained on the surface, her results were actually quite good. She was smart, learned things quickly, and had good logical thinking. Once she got serious, her results would shoot up like a rocket. Being in the 30s in the class meant that she was the same name in the whole school. Xiao Daoan was surprised and felt that his daughter was a little unfamiliar. Was Jing Yunjiao really talking about his daughter? Wasn't his daughter a delinquent girl who only knew how to ask for money from her family and go out to play with her friends? Xiao Daoan was suddenly speechless and didn't know what to say. He only saw that Xiao Haiqing was still sitting there and eating, as if the person Jing Yunjiao was talking about wasn't her. Why don't you mention such a good thing more often? Xiao Daoan smiled and said to Xiao Haiqing. Xiao Haiqing raised her eyebrows and said, I've said it before. Every time I want to show you the test paper, Auntie will rush over and say that I did my best. Then, you'll scold me and say that I'm a useless piece of trash who won't have any future prospects. You said that even when I did this, what else can I do? After saying that, she snorted and rolled her eyes. A long time ago, she also wanted to mend her relationship with her family, so she dutifully studied. That time, her results were quite good, and she rushed back excitedly to ask her father to sign for her. Who knew that before she could say how many marks she got, Auntie Jiang would start to speak for her. In an instant, her father's attitude couldn't be controlled. He scolded her fiercely and almost hit her. Since then, she was too lazy to pay attention to her grades. If she was in a good mood, she would study. If she was in a bad mood, she would play. Anyway, no one cared. It wasn't until he sat at the same table as Jing Yunjiao and saw how serious she was every day, as if she was risking her life for 13th Wang, that he decided to follow suit. Later on, he wanted to be in the same class as Jing Yunjiao, so he had to maintain the school's top 50 grades. Only then did things slowly stabilize. Xiao Haiqing's words caused Xiao Daoan's face to twitch. He couldn't remember anything about his daughter receiving her report card. He only remembered that every time she entered the house, she would quarrel with Jiang Rong. Jiang Rong was obviously tolerant of her, but she still wasn't satisfied. Did that mean he had misunderstood? I didn't know that Haiqing's results were so good. It's all my fault, it's all my fault. I was thinking that Haiqing didn't do very well in the past and was afraid that you would be angry after seeing the results. I didn't think that I would make a mistake. Jiang Rong said. After she finished speaking, she picked up some food for Xiao Haiqing and said with a fawning expression, Haiqing, I made a mistake out of good intentions. You have to forgive me. Jiang Rong wasn't old. She was only 27 or 28 years old, so her face was still very young. In addition, her voice was soft and gentle, so it was hard to dislike her. Xiao Daoan originally blamed her, but when he heard her admit her mistake, the dissatisfaction in his heart disappeared. We wrongly blamed you for this. Your auntie had good intentions. If it weren't for your bad grades and always messing around, you wouldn't be like this, right? Chapter 376. Xiao Daoan had just said it casually. He had never thought of apologizing to his daughter. After all, he was an elder. Moreover, his relationship with Xiao Haiqing had been tense for the past few years. To be able to say this now, in his opinion, he had already lowered his head to the greatest extent. However, Xiao Haiqing snorted softly when she heard it. It was her fault that her grades were bad. Now that her grades were good, was it still her fault? Was it because she had made a mistake when she was young, so no matter what she did in the future, she would have to settle old scores with her? However, she didn't want to bother about it. No matter what, her father wouldn't blame Jiang Rong for her. In his own words, Jiang Rong was still young when she married him. Moreover, she was pregnant before marriage and was criticized. Therefore, after marriage, her father had to give her the best in everything. Moreover, Jiang Rong was much younger than her father, so her father couldn't even bear to scold her. Xiao Haiqing lowered her head and ate her food. She felt wronged, but she didn't say a word. Jing Yunjiao frowned slightly, somewhat dissatisfied. However, this was Haiqing's family matter. If she rashly argued on her behalf, not only would she not be able to help her, she might even lose her status in the family. Moreover, she really couldn't handle matters before her parent-child relationship. However, Ji Shanshan was different. Seeing Xiao Haiqing's bullied expression, she said, "Uncle Xiao, you and my father are about the same age, but the difference is huge." "Oh, what do you mean?" Xiao Daoan was in a rare good mood, so he didn't think much about it and asked. "When I was young, my father said that I was his precious treasure, his flesh and blood. If anyone dared to bully me, he would fight back for me even if it meant risking his life. In our family, even my brother can't say anything bad about me. Once my father did something wrong to me, he had to be careful for a few days. He had to apologize to me every day and even wrote a self-reflection letter," Ji Shanshan said with a raised eyebrow. When Xiao Daoan heard this, he was stunned. This girl's meaning was too obvious. Was she saying that he was unreasonable? However, this was too outrageous. What kind of rule was it for an elder to apologize to a junior? If that was the case, who knew how much the child would be spoiled? Xiao Daoan snorted lightly. Seniors should act like seniors. Lowering your head to juniors, wouldn't that be a mess? How stubborn. What era is this? Could it be that girls were expected to follow the 3 obediences and 4 virtues like they did hundreds of years ago? Juniors can apologize if they're wrong, but why can't seniors do the same? They only know how to shirk responsibility. What's the difference between that and a coward? Ji Shanshan put down her chopsticks and looked at Jiang Rong. "Auntie Jiang, you're the one who's weird. Why do you always think that Xiao Haiqing is bad?" Jing Yunjiao smirked. "Auntie Jiang, I'll be honest with you, but I hope you don't like what you hear. You seem to really love and care for Haiqing, caring and protecting her in every way, but how come you don't even know her grades? Usually, Uncle Xiao is busy and not at home, but you are. Don't tell me you didn't ask." Jiang Rong's face stiffened. "I did ask, but Haiqing refused to tell me. The school has parents' phone numbers. Isn't there a notification after every exam?" Jing Yunjiao said casually. When he said that, Jiang Rong instantly panicked. The county's #1 middle school was the best school in the whole of Hua Ning County. They were serious and responsible. Every student in the class would definitely notify their parents if they improved or regressed. Jiang Rong said that Xiao Haiqing refused to tell her. That was nonsense. Old Xiao, maybe I didn't get a call from the school," Jiang Rong said with a panicked face. Chapter 377. Jing Yunjiao didn't continue to speak, instead revealing a meaningful smile. Ji Shanshan smacked her lips and picked up a large piece of meat and placed it in her bowl. She ate with satisfaction. But Xiao Daoan didn't feel good. Did the school inform the parents of the students' results? He thought about it and shook his head. He didn't receive any. Every time he said he wanted to go to the school to see Xiao Haiqing, Jiang Rong would stop him, saying that he couldn't pressure the child. He was also a father. It was impossible to say that he didn't care about Haiqing. After all, she was his first wife's daughter. Moreover, her mother had passed away, so he wanted to dote on her more. But Xiao Haiqing was too stubborn. Whenever they met, they would either quarrel or scold each other. After a long time, he was completely disappointed in this daughter of his and didn't want to care too much. Anyway, with Jiang Rong around, she wouldn't lack food and clothes. When she graduated from university, he would find a suitable man for her to marry and have children. Maybe her temper would improve. That was what he had been thinking all along. But now, he was suddenly told that Xiao Haiqing was a good student. And Jiang Rong, Xiao Daoan looked at Jiang Rong with some doubt. She wasn't Xiao Haiqing's biological mother, but her attitude had always been better than her biological mother's. But if that was the case, how could she not know about Xiao Haiqing's results? Did she not want to know, or did she know but not tell him? At this moment, Jiang Rong felt Xiao Daoan's questioning gaze and felt a little uneasy. All these years, she had been doing well. At least in front of her husband, she acted like a loving mother. But Xiao Haiqing wasn't born from her womb, and this girl had a bad temper. Unless her brain was damaged, she wouldn't really treat her as her biological daughter, so every time she saw Xiao Haiqing, she had to suppress the disgust in her heart and give her the warmest smile. She didn't like her husband being too close to this stepdaughter, so sometimes she would do some little things. Of course, the effect was getting better and better. Slowly, it made her feel that there were only 3 people in their family. Although she knew that her husband always missed this daughter, as long as Xiao Haiqing continued to disappoint him, sooner or later, he would pretend that this daughter didn't exist. But he didn't expect Xiao Haiqing to know how to get help. These 2 brats, who came out of nowhere, actually dared to give her husband an ideological and political lesson. Old Xiao! Jiang Rong cried out in grievance, her eyes red. It's all my fault. You know that Junjun is being naughty now, and I have to follow him every day to take care of him, so sometimes I can't pick up the phone. I'll be more careful next time. With his young wife apologizing pitifully, what else could Xiao Daoan say? Looking at his son who was sitting next to his wife, all of Xiao Daoan's suspicions disappeared. Don't keep an eye on Junjun in the future. Pay more attention to Haiqing. Xiao Daoan said simply, then looked at Xiao Haiqing and said, Haiqing, your results are so good, Daddy is happy too. Later, I'll let you go to your Auntie Jiang to get a reward of 1,000 yuan. If you want to buy anything, just go and take a look. But you can't be arrogant. You have to work hard to maintain your good grades. When you enter a key university in the future, Dad will buy you whatever you want. As a father, he also felt proud that his daughter's grades were good. Moreover, he felt that he had not let down his deceased wife. Chapter 378. Xiao Haiqing's face didn't show any surprise. She simply said, "Got it." Seeing his daughter's nonchalant reply, Xiao Daoan felt a little awkward. He was dissatisfied with Xiao Haiqing's attitude, but at the same time, he felt a little apologetic about not caring enough for her. After some thought, Xiao Daoan suddenly said, "Dad has a membership card for the horse ranch. Tomorrow, you and your classmates will come with me to take a look." When Jiang Rong heard that, her eyes flashed with dissatisfaction. The ranch her husband was talking about was considered an aristocratic ranch. The people who went there were either rich or respectable. Even if a normal person could afford it, they wouldn't be allowed in without a membership card. In the morning, her husband had told her that he would bring her and Junjun there tomorrow. Now, in the blink of an eye, Xiao Haiqing had taken advantage of this. "Rong, I'll accompany you next time," Xiao Daoan said again. Jiang Rong's dissatisfaction was completely blocked. There was no room for rebuttal. But when the little boy heard about horses, he pouted. "Dad, I want to watch the horses. I want to go riding too." Xiao Daoan was a little helpless. Dad will definitely let you go next time. Junjun, be good. Although he had a membership card, it wouldn't look good if he brought too many people there at once. Moreover, he was going there to interact with some old people in business. The adult area and the underage area were separated. If he brought Xiao Jun there, who would look after him when he turned around? Hai Qing. That definitely wouldn't do. When Xiao Jun heard that he was excluded, he immediately started to cry. His mouth was still stuffed with food. Instantly, his tears and snot mixed together. His originally cute face suddenly became somewhat unappetizing. I hate you. It's all because of you that Dad doesn't want me anymore. I don't care, I want to go riding, I want to go. Just as he was crying, Xiao Jun suddenly stopped and fell to the ground. His face was purple, his eyes were wide open, his hands were clawing wildly, and his whole body was twitching. Seeing his reaction, everyone panicked. Jiang Rong pressed down on Xiao Jun like a madwoman. Junjun. Junjun, what's wrong with you? Jing Yunjiao went forward and immediately pushed Jiang Rong away. Hai Qing, don't let her block me. With that, Xiao Hai Qing pulled Jiang Rong aside. Jing Yunjiao placed him down and hurriedly cleaned up the food in his mouth. However, because Xiao Jun's current situation was rather complicated, his teeth were tightly shut. Helpless, Jing Yunjiao could only pry open his mouth, and his actions could not be considered gentle. After this thing was cleaned up, Xiao Jun's condition was still not good. Xiao Daoan had already called for an ambulance at the first moment. However, this emergency treatment for choking was a race against time, and Jing Yunjiao could not wait. In the next second, Jing Yunjiao directly pulled over a stool next to him and placed his abdomen on it. His upper body was suspended in the air, and he suddenly pressed down on his back. Instantly, a lump of food was seen on the ground. Jing Yunjiao heaved a sigh of relief. Jiang Rong was already crying and scolding at the side. Where was the calm and gentle appearance from before? Especially when she saw Jing Yunjiao fiercely pressing Xiao Jun's waist and back, she was even more anxious and angry. Xiao Hai Qing, you shameless brat, it's all your fault for harming my Junjun. Tell her to scram. After Jing Yunjiao finished everything, he could still hear Jiang Rong's hysterical voice. Although Ji Shanshan did not know what was going on, she still held on to Xiao Daoan and refused to let go. All right, Jing Yunjiao stood up, his hands still stained with some dirt. He raised his eyebrows and said softly. Chapter 379. Hearing that, Xiao Haiqing felt relieved. Go wash your hands first. Jing Yunjiao nodded. At this time, Xiao Jun had regained consciousness. Seeing that, Jiang Rong hurriedly rushed up to hug him and cried non-stop. Xiao Daoan was both scared and shocked, having mixed feelings for a moment. When Jing Yunjiao came back after washing his hands, the ambulance hadn't arrived yet. However, in this situation, if she didn't do anything, it would be useless even if the ambulance came. It was very dangerous for a child to choke. If the blockage wasn't removed within 4 minutes, Xiao Jun would most likely die from suffocation today. Xiao Haiqing, tell her to scram. All of you, scram. Jiang Rong was sobbing, scolding Jing Yunjiao as soon as she saw her. Jing Yunjiao snorted. You don't know how to bite the hand that feeds you. If it weren't for the fact that the child is innocent, then he deserves to choke to death with a mother like you. When Xiao Jun was eating, he didn't follow any rules at all. It was as if everyone at the table was fighting for food with him, stuffing his mouth full and stuffing his mouth until he couldn't even speak clearly, yet he was still wailing and howling. Jiang Rong had been a mother for a few years, so it was impossible for her not to know that the possibility of choking was very high. However, at that time, her mind was occupied by the fact that Xiao Haiqing was going to the racecourse, and she even allowed her son to cry and make a fuss. Who was to blame in such a situation? Hearing Jing Yunjiao's words, Xiao Daoan also came back to his senses. Then you patted his back just now too, using the gas in a person's body to flush out the blockage. Did you think I was going to kill someone? Jing Yunjiao only found it laughable. Xiao Daoan's expression was complicated. However, the ambulance hadn't arrived yet, so he wasn't clear about the situation, so he wasn't in a hurry to apologize to Jing Yunjiao. After a while, the ambulance arrived, and Xiao Daoan and his wife brought the child to the hospital. At home, only a mess was left. "Thank you for your hard work," Xiao Haiqing still said. Jing Yunzhao's lips curled. "I didn't do it for your brother." "I know." Xiao Haiqing understood very well. Just now, Xiao Jun was crying and throwing a tantrum. If something really happened, regardless of whether it was her fault or not, it would be pushed to her in the end. At that time, she would not be able to defend herself. Ji Shanshan was also shocked by the series of events. "You can cure diseases." She suddenly admired Jing Yunzhao. "What should she do?" "It's all thanks to you. Otherwise, we would have been kicked out. But then again, why is that Auntie Jiang so annoying? You saved her son, but she still scolded you like a bitch. But if I had known you had this skill, I would have helped Xiao Haiqing scold them back then." Ji Shanshan pursed her lips and huffed angrily. Jing Yunzhao smiled, and Xiao Haiqing also shook her head. The three of them had lost their appetite and went upstairs. A few hours later, the family of three came back. Naturally, the doctor had seen them. Because the emergency treatment was timely, there were no problems. However, Xiao Jun was a little frightened and was now asleep. Once they entered, Xiao Daoan didn't see Xiao Haiqing. He looked a little disappointed. He glanced at Jiang Rong and said, "Go upstairs and apologize to them." At that time, the situation was urgent. Although he heard Jiang Rong scolding Xiao Haiqing, he couldn't argue with her. However, Jiang Rong's reaction at that time really gave him a fright. Because in his impression, no matter what happened, Jiang Rong would speak gently to Xiao Haiqing and never scold her. Moreover, she was a well-educated woman. Even if she scolded her, she shouldn't be like a shrew. Chapter 380. Embarrassment and regret flashed across Jiang Rong's face. At that time, she was really too anxious. When she saw the girl being violent towards her son, she couldn't hold back her anger. She didn't expect that the girl was actually trying to save her son, but she couldn't be blamed for this. Jing Yunzhao was about the same age as Xiao Haiqing. He looked like a normal person. Who knew that she would react so quickly? But thinking about it, she was still a little scared. The doctor also said that fortunately, the emergency treatment was accurate and fast. Otherwise, her son would have been in more danger. However, although she was grateful, she couldn't help but blame them at the same time. Since they were trying to save him, they should have just said it. Would she have stopped them? Moreover, she went to save him without saying a word. What if she didn't save him? What if she made a mistake? Was her son's life not a life? If a little girl like her could do it, she and her husband could do it too. Jiang Rong sighed bitterly and sent Xiao Jun back to his room. Then, she slowly went upstairs. Upstairs, she could still hear the sounds of the three girls fooling around. She felt even more stifled in her heart. Jing Yunzhao had already heard the commotion, but he didn't say anything. He vaguely felt that Jiang Rong had been outside for 2 or 3 minutes before she knocked on the door. "Haiqing, Auntie is here to apologize to you. I'm really sorry about what happened just now. I only said the wrong thing in a moment of panic. Please don't blame me." Jiang Rong's voice sounded faintly. The three of them paused. Ji Shanshan rolled her eyes. "You scared me to death. I trembled when I heard that voice. Just now, someone told us to get lost. It was like a lion roaring from the east. My heart is still thumping. When I go back, I must drink some tea to calm myself down." Ji Shanshan purposely said it loudly. When Jiang Rong heard it, she was furious. Jing Yunzhao also said, "Haiqing, I'm treating your son. The consultation fee isn't low. Don't tell me that no one in your family is prepared to pay. But thinking about it, it's reasonable that they don't pay. After all, they might think that I'm taking the opportunity to swindle you. They might even say that you're trying to help a poor classmate like me." After saying that, Jiang Rong was so angry that her teeth were chattering. Consultation fee? What kind of joke was this? A little brat like a blind cat running into a dead mouse had the nerve to ask for a consultation fee? Who did she think she was? Godly doctor. Xiao Haiqing loved the 2 lucky stars in front of her. When had she ever seen Jiang Rong so cowardly? In the past, she was young and beautiful, and she even gave birth to a son for her father. Every day, she would whisper pillow talk in front of her father. Now, she had revealed her true colors. Haiqing, Auntie knows she was wrong. It's only right for you to blame me. I don't dare, Auntie Jiang. You are our family's hero. How can we blame you? Also, as long as you don't complain in front of my dad, then we'll thank the heavens and earth. Xiao Haiqing said smugly. I don't know if you have, but Xiao Haiqing gave Jing Yunjiao and Ji Shanshan a look before opening the door. She took out all the things that she had previously wrapped up, walked past Jiang Rong, and went down the stairs with a bang bang bang. She directly placed them in front of Xiao Dao and in the hall. Dad, don't make Auntie apologize to me. I can't accept it. Xiao Haiqing raised her eyebrows and continued, These were all arranged by Auntie. She told me to get lost, and I couldn't not listen. So, I'm going to take these things and wander the world. I wish you good health and a long life with Auntie Jiang. When I'm not around, I believe Auntie won't think that I'm bad or say bad things about me and protect me against her will, right? Chapter 381. Xiao Haiqing wanted to pretend to be obedient like Jiang Rong, but being obedient wasn't her nature. Besides, she could pretend for a while, but not for a lifetime. She would never be able to compete with Jiang Rong. She didn't have the chance to be arrogant in the past, but now that Jing Yunjiao was their precious son, her father wouldn't get angry with her at this time. Since that was the case, she could say those words openly. Did Jiang Rong still want to stop her? Did she have the right to do so today? In front of her father, those who made a mistake had no right to refute. Wasn't she like this in the past? Haiqing, don't mess around. Your Auntie Jiang is in the wrong this time. She has already apologized to you. Xiao Daoan frowned, feeling helpless. She was in the wrong first, so she shouldn't have lost her temper. Xiao Haiqing shook her head and took out more than a dozen books from the big bag wrapped in the bedsheets. She stuffed them into Xiao Daoan's hands. How to Cultivate a Socialite is a classic. After learning it, you'll benefit a lot. I suggest that Auntie read it a few more times. These are all things that Auntie prepared for me, but I feel that she needs to be reforged even more now. Today, she's yelling at my classmate, Junjun's savior. Next time, she'll be able to do the same to your client, right? Also, I don't like any of these things. So much red doesn't suit me at all. It's a pity that I told Auntie Jiang, but it was useless. Later, she said in front of you that I'm hard to serve, so there's no other way. Since I'm leaving home, it's better to bring her heart with me. Jiang Rong followed her downstairs. Hearing these words, she was so angry that she wanted to vomit blood. Xiao Daoan looked at the pink things on the floor and couldn't help but have a headache. What were these? Clothes, bedsheets, plush toys. His daughter used these. And Jiang Rong prepared them. To be honest, Xiao Daoan didn't even enter his daughter's house. This house was on the 3rd floor. After buying it, everything was arranged by Jiang Rong. He trusted Jiang Rong, so he didn't ask. When they first moved in, Xiao Haiqing was smashing things in the house. Jiang Rong cried in front of him, saying that the things she prepared with good intentions were ruined. He thought that the things she prepared were what Haiqing liked, but it turned out to be these. No, old Xiao. Didn't I tell you that I want to have a daughter too? I want to give the best to my daughter, so I chose these for her. After all, she's a girl. Jiang Rong said immediately. Xiao Haiqing nodded seriously. That's right. Auntie Jiang definitely didn't do it on purpose. But Dad, isn't it enough for you to have me as your daughter? Do you want to have another one? Xiao Haiqing's eyes were clear as she asked calmly. Xiao Daoan's heart skipped a beat, and a feeling of guilt instantly arose in his heart. That's not true. Isn't it enough that Daddy has a debt collector like you? Xiao Daoan sighed helplessly. Wasn't he a debt collector? Ever since her mother passed away, the two of them hadn't had a proper conversation. They would quarrel every 3 sentences. During their time in Huaning County, there weren't many opportunities for them to meet. She had been hiding in her mother's house and would only go back occasionally. Xiao Haiqing's nose turned sour. I also don't want to be Daddy's debt collector. My mother used to say that I was your lover in your previous life and that I was here to fight for your favor. But after she left, I didn't even have the right to fight for your favor. Dad, just tell me. Is this still my house? Do I have to scram just because Auntie Jiang told me to? Is everything she says right in this house? Chapter 382. Xiao Haiqing was usually very capable, but no matter how capable she was still a little girl. There was no reason for her not to yearn for her father's love and protection. Her words directly crushed the guilt in Xiao Daoan's heart until it was utterly defeated. In the past, he didn't have a chance to talk to his daughter. All these years, she was like a hedgehog. Once he touched her, she would prick his family until they were covered in bruises. Every time he saw his daughter, he felt a sense of defeat. His business was smooth sailing, but when it came to Haiqing, he couldn't do anything about it. She was always wrong, and even so, she was so self-righteous. But when he thought of this, Xiao Daoan suddenly froze. Did she do something wrong today? It seemed like she didn't, but after so many years, it was already a habit to think that Xiao Haiqing was wrong. Xiao Daoan's eyes darkened. He didn't know if he was lying to himself or to Xiao Haiqing. He said, "Your Auntie Jiang listens to everything you say. Are you sure she listens to everything she says? When I called to say that I was going home, she said that you've been tired recently and advised me to wait a few days to avoid conflict. Once I'm back, if I quarrel with you, she would say in front of you that I'm stubborn and disobedient. I haven't done anything wrong, but the moment she saw me, she told you to calm down and to be calm. Even before I said anything, she started to protect me. Whenever I felt that it was strange and started to scold her, you would look like you were going to chase me out of the house. Dad, is she protecting me, or does she want to see the world in chaos? Someone who only knows how to apologize for me, even if I'm not wrong. Is she really good to me?" Xiao Haiqing sighed and said everything in her heart. She had said it before, but her attitude was different back then. Back then, her father didn't believe her at all. Most of the time, when they quarreled, she would shout that Jiang Rong was up to no good. Under those circumstances, her father naturally didn't believe her at all and even thought that she was heartless. She was not stupid. In fact, there were many things that she could understand. It was just that when it fell on the heads of outsiders, she could handle it with a very calm attitude. However, once she became an insider, it was different. Because she cared about her father, she couldn't play tricks against Jiang Rong, which meant that she had already lost. Today, it was just an opportunity. Her father knew that she had good grades and that she was not a delinquent girl who only knew how to eat, drink, and play. Jiang Rong suddenly scolded her, and she was no longer a gentle woman. That was why her words carried a little weight. Xiao Daoan's feelings were really complicated now. In this family, if one were to talk about black and white, then in the past, Jiang Rong was white, and Xiao Haiqing was black. But now, it was the complete opposite. He pursed his lips and saw Jiang Rong crying behind him. When she saw him looking over, her body trembled and she muttered, "It's all my fault." Xiao Daoan didn't look too good. She looked at the item on the table and suddenly said, "Sister Wang, take all these bedsheets and toys out and throw them away." After saying that, she took out a supplementary card. "Tomorrow, accompany Dad to the horse farm. The day after tomorrow, buy some things that you like. As for the matter of transferring schools, can you choose for yourself? But Dad hopes that you will stay in Ning City. I will send you to the best school." Previously, he didn't know that his daughter's grades were good, so he thought that going to Mingyang High School was not a bad idea. At least, he could get to know some people with good status and broaden his horizons and social circle. But now, it was different. His daughter had the ability to enter a key university. Of course, he still hoped that she could rely on herself in the future and come back to help him handle the family business. Chapter 383. Hearing Xiao Daoan's words, Jiang Rong shuddered. She knew that her years of hard work were all for naught. She should have thought of it earlier. Xiao Haiqing had grown up. She was not as easy to control and anger as before. She was now like a bomb. It was time to explode. Xiao Haiqing was overjoyed. She didn't expect her father to suddenly become so easy to talk to. She was even prepared to be scolded by her father again. Who knew that he would side with her? Dad. Xiao Haiqing was at a loss. You're not scolding me anymore? Stupid girl. Xiao Daoan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You're my daughter, not my enemy. Do you think I'm so happy to hit and scold you? As long as you're obedient, I can't be happier. He had imagined his daughter to be a scoundrel. She hung out with hooligans every day, beat up her classmates, and committed all kinds of crimes. But now, he suddenly realized that it wasn't like that at all. Naturally, he was pleasantly surprised. If he still hit and scolded her, then he must have had nothing better to do. Xiao Haiqing hadn't heard her father's gentle voice for a few years. She didn't know how to react and suddenly burst into tears. She didn't cry as loudly as Ji Shanshan. Instead, she stood there in a daze. She didn't make a sound, but her tears just wouldn't stop. It was heartbreaking and unbearable. Xiao Daoan was shocked. In his impression, he hadn't seen his daughter so fragile in a long time. Ever since her grandfather passed away, she seemed to have stopped crying. There was once when he hit her with a stick, and his hands were numb from the shock. But Haiqing still gritted her teeth and glared at him, not shedding tears. Sometimes, he even wondered if this daughter of his had reincarnated into the wrong body. She should be a boy instead. But now, his daughter was still his daughter. Dad, you're not such a scoundrel. Xiao Haiqing wiped her tears and huffed softly. Xiao Daoan's mouth twitched. He reached out and patted his daughter's head. He was surprised to find that he hadn't done this for a few years. His daughter really did seem to have grown a lot taller. Don't cry. Your classmates are still here. Aren't you afraid of embarrassing yourself? Xiao Daoan shook his head, yet his heart softened for some reason. Jiang Rong stood in place, watching the father and son sitting on the sofa. The atmosphere suddenly became very harmonious, and for a moment, she felt a little uneasy. She was afraid that this would happen. She was afraid that the father and daughter would stand on the same side and make her seem like an outsider. Sure enough, it was still like this. But why? If it wasn't for her, how could the Xiao family be so successful now? It was because of her maternal family's financial support that Xiao Daoan's business was getting better and better. Now, what right did he have to exclude her? Jiang Rong bit her lip. Old Xiao. Xiao Daoan raised his head and glanced at her. He couldn't tell what he was feeling. He was a little disappointed, and also a little unable to accept it. I didn't do it on purpose, Jiang Rong said. Xiao Daoan sighed and nodded. Got it. Go take a look at Junjun, Haiqing. If you have any problems in the future, just tell Dad directly. As long as you don't do anything bad, Dad won't get angry with you. At the end of the day, she was still his wife. No matter how bad this woman was, she was still the woman who had grown up with him when he had nothing. If she made a mistake, he could tolerate it, but he couldn't continue to make the mistake. Xiao Haiqing also knew that she had a place in her father's heart, but so did Jiang Rong, not to mention Xiao Junoke, Dad. Then I still have to go back to Huaning. Xiao Haiqing said directly, then hurriedly added, I'm not being playful. My grades are good now because I'm deskmate with Yun Zhao. If it were someone else, I guarantee that my grades would drop. If you're still worried, I can send my results home for you to check after every exam. Is that okay? Chapter 384. Xiao Haiqing struck while the iron was hot, afraid that her father would be the same as before. Xiao Daoan was stunned for a moment. He glanced at Jing Yun Zhao and suddenly understood. This girl was so quiet that it was unbelievable. Her grades were good, and she was also steady. She indeed had an infectious aura around her. It was no wonder that his daughter liked to stay with her. Fortunately, she wasn't a boy. That wasn't bad. I'll listen to you. I'll get someone to reapply for a transfer later, Xiao Daoan said. When Xiao Haiqing heard that, she grinned and raised her head to kiss Xiao Daoan's face. She felt so good. Thank you, Dad. Xiao Daoan's face stiffened. A long-lost feeling welled up in his heart, but he couldn't show it in front of the girls. His expression was very strange. Jing Yunjiao pretended not to see it and pursed her lips into a smile. Ji Shanshan, on the other hand, laughed loudly. The atmosphere in the living room was relaxed and harmonious. A crack appeared in the room on the second floor. Jiang Rong, who was in the room, heard the sound, and her face darkened. That night, Xiao Haiqing was in an extremely good mood. She chatted with Jing Yunjiao for almost the entire night. Jing Yunjiao had never seen Xiao Haiqing lose her sense of propriety like this. She was brimming with sunshine and youth, as if she had received the best thing in the world. Her entire person had changed. She was really too easy to satisfy. She knew that Jiang Rong would still hang around her in the future, but she was still so excited and happy. What she cared about was Xiao Daoan's attitude, right? Jing Yunjiao suddenly felt a little envious. Until now, she had never been so happy because of a person's change of opinion. Those classmates of hers used to glare at her angrily. Although they were much gentler now, she only felt that it was okay. Although old Master Shu's praise made her happy every time, it was because she was happy about her improvement in medicine. Jing Yunjiao also spent the night with her imagination running wild. The next morning, she prepared to leave for the horse ranch. Xiao Daoan was also very energetic today. He had a pleasant expression on his face, which was completely different from when they first met yesterday. Ji Shanshan, on the other hand, did not feel that there was anything wrong with it, because her father was even kinder than the current Xiao Daoan when he was in his normal state, so she adapted very well. However, Jing Yunjiao was sizing up the father and daughter duo. Xiao Daoan's eyes were filled with gratification and guilt, and he suddenly became very considerate towards Xiao Haiqing. This kind of attitude was as if he was trying to make up for his previous mistake. Although it was intentional, the father and daughter pair still got along very well, without the slightest bit of awkwardness. Was this the natural understanding between father and daughter? Although they had quarreled for a few years, they had feelings for each other after all, so it was normal. Jing Yunjiao fell into deep thought. Miss Godly Doctor, you look like a crazy stalker now. Is it fun to keep staring at them? Actually, you don't have to be envious. I feel that you will definitely have more than Xiao Haiqing in the future. Ji Shanshan suddenly grabbed her arm and said. Jing Yunjiao felt that this person was too fickle. Didn't she not wish for her to be well before? I'm not speaking without thinking. Look at you. You know medicine, you know how to make medicine. This kind of person was born to save all of humanity, okay? Your IQ is so high, and you're not ugly. Your parents must have accidentally abandoned you. It definitely wasn't intentional. Also, look at how beautiful you are. In the future, the number of men chasing after you will definitely be enough to circle the earth. No matter what you lack in the future, you will definitely not lack love. Don't worry, if I'm wrong, I will give my man to you in the future, Ji Shanshan said righteously. Chapter 385. By the time Ji Shanshan finished speaking, Jing Yunjiao was already a few meters away. He wanted her, Ji Shanshan's man? Forget it. She didn't want someone like Kui Jun. She had to stay away from this idiot in the future to avoid being infected. Jing Yunjiao walked in front while Ji Shanshan followed behind, yelling at the top of her lungs. When they stepped into the horse farm, the staff looked at them in surprise. The horse farm was located in the suburbs, but it wasn't far from the city. It was huge and had both indoor and outdoor options. In addition to the horse farm, there was a golf course next to it. The green grass looked very comfortable. The three of them were wearing equestrian attire today. Black trousers, white shirts, and black waistcoats, looking very slim and handsome. There were 2 areas in the horse farm, so when they entered, Xiao Daoan told his daughter that he was going to meet up with his business friends. Jing Yunjiao and the others chose ponies and were led into the horse farm by the staff. The horse that Jing Yunjiao chose was completely black. It had a pair of spirited eyes that made it easy to like it at first glance. On the other hand, Xiao Haiqing chose a red pony while Ji Shanshan liked white. The 3 horses were placed side by side and looked very pleasing to the eye. It was the first time the 3 of them were riding a horse, so they were a little nervous. Under the guidance of the staff, the three of them got on the horses. When they left the ground, Ji Shanshan shouted, "Jing Yunjiao, look, am I not handsome?" Jing Yunjiao glanced at her and remained silent. It was more appropriate to say that she was embarrassed. Her whole body swayed and stuck to the horse's back. If it wasn't for someone guarding her, she would have fallen off. The horses here were relatively docile, so there was almost no chance of any accidents happening. Jing Yunjiao didn't have time to show off. She carefully got on the horse, but after learning the technique, she found that it wasn't difficult. Moreover, she knew martial arts, so she didn't have to worry about falling off. Therefore, her mental fortitude was much stronger than Xiao Haiqing and Ji Shanshan. A country bumpkin riding a horse? That's hilarious. Someone passed by Ji Shanshan and suddenly said with a smile. She was wearing a riding helmet, a fiery red shirt, a pair of white pants, and a pair of boots. She looked especially beautiful. She held the reins in her hand, and her expression was natural. Her calves squeezed the horse's belly, and she swayed leisurely. She looked confident like a princess. Ji Shanshan's temper had always been explosive, and now she was nervous. When she heard this, she immediately exploded. "Who are you talking about? You're the bumpkin, TSK, and you say you're not a country bumpkin. You can't even get up while hugging the horse." The other party rolled his eyes and said, "Looking at your movements, it must be your first time here, right? How did you manage to enter such a grand occasion? Could it be that he had sneaked in behind someone else's ass? TSK, just by looking at your riding attire, I can tell that it's an inferior product." Hearing this, Ji Shanshan was so angry that she almost fumed. She had always cared about her reputation. Not to mention that her family background was not bad, even if it was really not good, it was not the right of an outsider to say so. Princess syndrome. So what if you're noble? We also spent money to come here. We're not inferior to you. Ji Shanshan restrained herself. After all, she came here with the Xiao family, so she didn't want to cause trouble for them. When the other party heard this, he sneered and turned to his companions. "Let's hurry up. I don't want to stay with a newbie country bumpkin." Chapter 386. Behind her, 4 people led their horses out one after another. Ji Shanshan followed her gaze and turned to look. She immediately curled her lips. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. In such a big city like Serene City, she just had to meet the person she least wanted to see, Sun Yang. At this moment, Sun Yang also looked over. The moment he saw Ji Shanshan's face, the smile on his face instantly froze. He then glanced at the 2 people beside Ji Shanshan before his gaze landed on Jing Yunjiao. In that instant, his blood boiled as he gripped the reins tightly. His eyes looked like he wanted to kill someone. "Jing Yunjiao. That brat is here too. Why did you quarrel with them?" Sun Yang tried her best to control her emotions. She squeezed out a smile on her face and asked the arrogant girl in red. The other party snorted. "I didn't quarrel. Are they worthy? I just saw some people bragging about how handsome they are, and I couldn't help but want to give them a blow. After all, this isn't a place that just anyone can come here. Are you done? We didn't offend you. What's the point of insulting us?" Ji Shanshan felt aggrieved. It was her first time riding a horse. It was normal for her to be nervous and scared. The other party was too overbearing. "It's interesting. I just can't stand country bumpkins pretending to be noble. What's wrong?" The other party blinked and smiled as if it was only natural. Jing Yunjiao frowned. "This miss is really noble. Her clothes are decent, and even the horse she chose is better than others. It's just that it's just a golden exterior and a rotten interior. She doesn't have the slightest bit of upbringing. What a waste of such a good horse." When Sun Yang heard this, she immediately said, "Jing Yunjiao, why are you everywhere? Miss Sun Yang, I also want to know why you're always in front of me. Are you haunting me?" Jing Yunjiao didn't back down. When the lady beside her heard this, she turned to look at Sun Yang. "You know each other?" Sun Yang was a little embarrassed. "I've met her once. Her name is Jing Yunjiao." She's an orphan who has no parents. She took advantage of the fact that she managed to hook up with an old senior to attend an event and chased me out. I really don't know how she managed to survive. She must have latched onto some big tree again. Although she could no longer make medicine from now on, since she had met Jing Yunjiao, she did not want to have an easy time. Only nobles could come to this horse farm, unless they had some connections. None of the people here could be offended, such as Hong Wen. The Hong family was a prestigious family in Ning City. Hong Wen's father had a net worth of 1 billion yuan and was one of the top figures in Ning City. As for Hong Wen, she had been doted on since she was young and was a veritable little princess with an arrogant personality. Previously, because she was raising funds for Jing Yunjiao, she had been invited to a banquet by a few rich kids. She had met Hong Wen at the banquet and had a good relationship with her. Hearing Sun Yang's words, Hong Wen's expression turned into one of disgust, as if Jing Yunjiao was some kind of dirty thing. She pouted, no wonder. She even said this miss doesn't have any upbringing. Sun Yang smiled slightly and looked at Jing Yunjiao. She deliberately provoked her. Wen, I'm afraid you don't know. This Jing Yunjiao has always been arrogant. She doesn't take anyone seriously. Hong Wen adjusted the reins in her hand and looked at the staff. You also invite people like her to the horse farm? The staff was stunned. Did I not make myself clear enough? I'll have to trouble you to chase these 3 people out. Just looking at them annoys me. I don't want anything annoying to disturb my mood. Chapter 387. Hong Wen held her head high. Her fiery red figure was even more dazzling under the sun. Ji Shanshan trembled in anger and glared at her. However, there was no point in glaring. Even though she didn't know where Hong Wen came from, she could tell that she came from a wealthy family. Her words carried weight. Even though she wasn't afraid, she still had to think about Xiao Haiqing and her father. If they were implicated, they would have a hard time in the future. A smug smile appeared on Sun Yang's face. Fortunately, she met Jing Yunjiao today, allowing her to vent the anger in her heart. The heavens were indeed fair. Previously, Jing Yunjiao had chased her away, causing her to lose so much face. Now, she had to return the favor. Sun Yang thought for a moment, waiting for Jing Yunjiao to burst into tears. However, all she saw was Jing Yunjiao staring coldly at the staff member. The staff member also hesitated, not wanting to step forward. What's wrong with you? Are you not going to listen to Miss Hong? She's a regular here. Sun Yang immediately said. You're just a fox pretending to be a tiger. Sun Yang, you're shameless. You were the one who lost the competition and was chased out, yet you're still yelling in front of us. I've never seen someone as thick-skinned as you. Ji Shanshan gritted her teeth. Am I as thick-skinned as you? Even though I won't be able to return to the Kui family because of Jing Yunjiao, Kui Jun still respects me, his cousin. Ji Shanshan, as long as I'm here, you'll never be able to be my cousin in this lifetime. Just give up on that thought. Sun Yang's words were soft and gentle. Ji Shanshan's eyes reddened at the mention of Kui Jun. Who cares? You had a competition before? Hong Wen's eyes lit up. What did you compete in? Sun Yang's expression changed. It's nothing. It's just memory and courage. She lost because she didn't dare to touch those disgusting centipedes. Otherwise, how could she, Sun Yang, lose to a wild girl? Oh, is that so? Hong Wen's eyes shone. She stroked the horse's manner and said, Are they very brave? It's all right. Sun Yang felt a little guilty. When Hong Wen heard this, the corners of her mouth curled up. She suddenly raised the whip in her hand and lashed out at the horse under Ji Shanshan. Ji Shanshan's horse was startled and galloped away. When Xiao Haiqing and Jing Yunjiao saw this, their expressions changed drastically. Ji Shanshan was wobbling on the horse's back and screaming non-stop. When the staff saw this, they immediately wanted to help her. However, Hong Wen said, Okay, you guys go help her. The owner of your ranch is a friend of my father. I just need to say a word and you'll all lose your jobs. Of course, losing your jobs isn't a big deal, but I'm a very vengeful person. If anyone makes things difficult for me, I'll make things difficult for his entire family. Hong Wen was a regular here, and many people knew about her arrogant character. Previously, one of the staff members felt that she was too arrogant and couldn't stand it. However, Hong Wen insisted that the staff member follow her. In the end, for some reason, the staff member who offended Hong Wen inexplicably fell down and was kicked by the horse a few times before being sent to the hospital. The staff member was seriously injured, but Hong Wen was a customer after all. At that time, she even wanted to pursue the responsibility of the ranch. She said that the staff member took advantage of her when she was riding with her and was pushed down by her in a hurry, causing the accident. In the end, the ranch paid Hong Wen's money. The staff member who was trampled didn't even receive compensation and was almost sued. Therefore, when Hong Wen said that, no one dared to step forward. Chapter 388. Jing Yunjiao was infuriated when she saw that everyone was playing dumb. Ji Shanshan was so nervous that she held onto the horse tightly. The horse was in so much pain that it went berserk, kicking up a cloud of dust. Perhaps she would be thrown off the horse in the next second. Although the pony was not very tall, it was bound to be badly injured under such gravity. Jing Yunjiao clenched her fists. Xiao Haiqing gritted her teeth and said, "I'll go." "What's the point of you going? Just stay there." After she finished speaking, Jing Yunjiao's body moved, directly urging the horse to gallop over. Jing Yunjiao's mind was blank as the wind whistled past her ears. It was her first time riding a horse, and it was so difficult that she could not be nervous. However, her eyes were fixed on Ji Shanshan, so she could not think too much about it. Jing Yunjiao's ability to learn things had always been very high. Moreover, she had a foundation in martial arts. At first, she wasn't used to it, but after moving forward for some distance, she became more steady. It was just that when the black horse under her got close to Ji Shanshan's horse, it was clearly a bit resistant. Jing Yunjiao had no choice but to exert force on her feet. She suddenly jumped up, stepped on the horse's back, and sat down directly behind Ji Shanshan. Ji Shanshan clung to the horse like an octopus. Jing Yunjiao scooped her up. However, she did not know how to control the pony, so she could only let it continue to be irritable. After a while, it finally stopped. The group of people not far away were dumbfounded. Xiao Haiqing had been on tenterhooks all this time. When she saw that Jing Yunjiao had the situation under control, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. She abandoned her horse and ran over. "Yunjiao, are you okay?" Xiao Haiqing looked worried. If she had known that they would encounter trouble at the racecourse, no matter how curious she was, she would not have brought Jing Yunjiao along. The situation just now was too dangerous. Jing Yunjiao's guts were really big. Even if she knew some martial arts to protect herself, she shouldn't have been so impulsive. After all, when she jumped onto Ji Shanshan's back, the distance between the two horses was at least 3 meters. What if she stepped on the wrong side? What if he fell under the horse? Although it was a pony, it would not feel good to be stepped on by it. Jing Yunjiao heaved a sigh of relief and jumped down from the horse's back. Fortunately, it was a close call. Ji Shanshan was in a daze. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she clutched at Jing Yunjiao's sleeves, refusing to let go. "Well, it's okay." Jing Yunjiao looked at her and couldn't help but say. Ji Shanshan sobbed a few more times before she recovered. The next second, she ran directly to Hong Wen and pointed at her nose, scolding, "Are you crazy? You're too vicious. If something happens to me, will you take responsibility?" Hong Wen snorted. "Nothing happened, right? How boring." Hong Wen said slowly, as if she didn't care at all. "You people like to make a fuss over nothing. Are you blaming me for not taking good care of your own horse and causing it to be frightened? Besides, isn't it normal to use a whip in this racecourse? I accidentally touched your horse's butt. Who knew it would be so useless?" Jing Yunjiao had also come back. When she heard Hong Wen's words, the anger in her heart grew. This woman was only in her early 20s. She looked pretty and charming, but she didn't care about human life at all. She wasn't exaggerating. After all, in that situation, if Ji Shanshan was really thrown off, no matter how lucky she was, she would have suffered more than minor injuries. Chapter 389. Hong Wen didn't care about it at all. At most, she was surprised by Jing Yunjiao's performance. The way he jumped on the horse looked like a martial arts actor to her. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she would have thought that Jing Yunjiao had a strong aura around him. The world was so big that nothing was too strange. It was a pity that such a talent didn't join the acrobatic troupe. Hong Wen's eyebrows twitched. She rode the pony past Ji Shanshan slowly, not even looking at her. "All right, I'm too lazy to play with you country bumpkins. Sun Yang, let's go to the woods for a walk. We'll get someone to send us some afternoon tea. Let's enjoy this leisurely time." Jing Yunjiao's eyes flashed. He flicked a small stone out of his hand. She used her internal strength and wasn't far away. Naturally, she aimed accurately and hit the horse's leg. In the next moment, the horse suddenly knelt down and fell to the ground with a cry. Hong Wen was as elegant as a proud peacock a second ago. But in the next second, she lost her balance and fell to the ground, rolling 3 or 4 times. The 5 of them were relatively close to each other. When Hong Wen's horse fell, the horses behind it were naturally startled. Each of them raised their front legs and howled a few times. The few people sitting on the horses were even more startled. When Hong Wen fell to the ground, everyone gathered around her. They saw that Hong Wen didn't have an arm and her face was covered in dirt. She was wearing white pants, which were now covered in dirt. There were some scars on her wrists. It looked a little scary, but it didn't seem to be a big deal. It was probably because of the fall that his arm was injured. Wen, are you okay? Don't scare me. Call an ambulance." The people around her immediately cried out anxiously. Hong Wen gritted her teeth. She was in a sorry state, but her injury wasn't serious. So she was very clear-headed. But when she heard the people around her shouting, she was even angrier. She stared at Jing Yunjiao and the others and said, "It's you guys, isn't it?" Her horse couldn't have fallen for no reason. It must be the 3 of them taking revenge. Jing Yunjiao snorted. "Miss Hong, are you joking? We were 3 to 4 meters away from you. Even if we swung our whips, we wouldn't be able to reach you. Besides, there were so many people here. Who saw us swinging our whips?" Since she had made a move, she would not leave any evidence for others to use against her. If she was at a disadvantage in terms of martial arts, then he would be completely useless. Hong Wen's eyes turned cold. "It's you. Wen, I've called an ambulance." Sun Yang was eager to show her concern. Hong Wen directly threw a cold knife at her. "Why are you calling an ambulance? Call the police. Just say that it was a murder." "Oh right, call my father over. I want to see who brought them here." This was considered a family area. There were some underage children and young ladies around 20 years old. There weren't many boys, and most of the people in the horse farm next door were middle-aged men. Now that Hong Wen said this, Sun Yang understood. The other 3 people beside her quickly went next door to call for help. Hong Wen climbed up from the ground in a sorry state. She was helped to sit in the rest area by the staff. Jing Yunjiao and the others were stopped by the staff. For a moment, they couldn't move. It seemed that they were treated as criminals. Jing Yunjiao's eyes were gloomy. He thought for a moment, then took out his phone and made 2 calls. Chapter 390. For a moment, the surroundings were silent. Ji Shanshan was furious. She knew that she was not a person to be trifled with, and even knew that she was willful and mischievous. However, after meeting Hong Wen, she truly understood what it meant to be unreasonable. Although she was sometimes hot-tempered, she rarely did things that harmed others. Take the incident of hitting Jing Yunjiao with a stone in the manor as an example. At that time, she was anxious, and actually regretted it after she did it. Seeing that Jing Yunjiao was fine, she continued to pretend to be strong. Moreover, Kui Jun was also there at that time, so she lost her sense of propriety. However, this Hong Wen was different. It was as if everyone was not worth mentioning in her eyes. "What should we do?" "Xiao Haiqing, I seem to have caused trouble for you," Ji Shanshan said, a little embarrassed. This Hong Wen should have quite a background. Although Xiao Daoan's business was smooth sailing, It definitely could not compare to the Hong family. Xiao Haiqing shook her head. What does it have to do with you? The other party looked down on us. As soon as she came in, she stared at our clothes. Obviously, she knows that our family background is not as good as hers, so she deliberately looked for trouble. Their clothes were actually not bad. As they had never ridden a horse before, they definitely would not come here often in the future. To avoid wasting money, they bought ordinary clothes. If she were to apologize, she would feel that she had let down Jing Yunjiao and Ji Shanshan. This time, she clearly wanted to bring the two of them out to relax, but in the end, they encountered such an unreasonable young miss. She even almost caused Ji Shanshan to be injured. Jing Yunjiao glanced at Xiao Haiqing. She wanted to speak, but Xiao Haiqing whispered into her ear, "You don't have to say it." "I know." Other than Jing Yunjiao, no one could make Hong Wen fall to the ground so pathetically without anyone noticing. Just now, there was an 80 to 90% chance that Jing Yunjiao did it, although she did not know how or when he did it. She wasn't stupid enough to blame Jing Yunjiao. She, Xiao Haiqing, had never been a coward. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't do it, she would be even more ruthless than Jing Yunjiao. However, she did not know that it was not that Jing Yunjiao was not ruthless, but that it was inconvenient for him to make his move too obvious. Otherwise, once he was discovered, he would not be able to escape no matter what. Although she was being stopped now, no one would have any real evidence. It was just a competition of power, so she was not afraid. Old Master Shu was right. It was impossible for her to only use her medical skills to save people. If she wanted to save people, she had to be able to save herself first. Only by using her own ability to climb to a certain height would she have the qualifications to do what she liked. Unless she chose to be an extremely ordinary mortal for the rest of her life, there would be no lack of trouble. While they were waiting, the staff had already come to treat Hong Wen's wound. The skin on her hand was scraped, and there were some slight scars on her face. Her leg was also injured, but it was not serious. The scar on her left arm was the most serious. It was caused by a stone on the ground. A lot of blood flowed out, but it would not hinder her usual activities. Not long after, a group of people walked over in a grandiose manner. Because Hong Wen had a big mouth and asked people to spread the word that someone wanted to murder her, many of them were worried that something would happen to their children, so they came over. However, when they came in and saw that Hong Wen only had some superficial wounds, they were relieved. What happened? Wen, why did you fall from the horse? A middle-aged man came over and asked with a distressed look. When Hong Wen heard that, she felt wronged. Dad, it's all because of these three people. They did something to the horse. As soon as she said that, everyone's faces changed. Birds of a feather flocked together. The people around Hong Wen also had a look of agreement, especially Sun Yang. She simply felt that today was a good day for her to hold her head high. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.